to the Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, episode 83. Three?
Yeah.
Yes.
83.
Yes, Canada loves the Toronto Raptors right now. Indeed, tomorrow's Father's
Classy
Day.
group of fans you got there, Christian. Classy group.
Hey,
Especially Drake, that ass.
At least one of our owners didn't decide to push somebody.
Yeah, no, they just like, oh, you're out for a year. You just ruined your career. Let's cheer.
Oh,
Down
come on. One time. I knew you'd bring that up, you prick.
I'm kidding. They are classless, but that's okay.
Get the fuck
Raptors
out of
are
here.
all right.
Raptors are fine.
The second that happened, some guy started a GoFundMe to say, like, hey, not all Toronto fans are like that.
No, I know.
They're not.
That's their one and only championship.
You know, you don't realize it. They're probably all hopped up at the time. You jump up, you're like, oh my God, because he's a star player. Then you realize, oh fuck, this guy, that's his career. Like that on the line. So I think then it sinks in after. It was horrible. No one was happy about it right after when it was happening. And even the Raptors, you saw them. They're like, shut up, guys.
Yeah, no, they were.
Shut the fuck up.
No, it was a great series except for those injuries. And then Klay Thompson, the next game, he's also out for 6 months to a year.
Man. Yeah, buddy.
With that ACL.
That looked brutal. Green felt bad too, and you could just see that it really had nothing to do with him coming up. He was just playing basketball, and it was more the way he landed.
And yes, speaking of landed, you guys have landed on Sports Talk on a horror podcast. So if you guys hate sports, I'm very sorry. I'm going to say one thing. I was rooting for the Raptors at the beginning of all of this stuff because I'm neighboring Toronto. I never have an issue with the Raptors. I was a little hurt when they got bumped last year in the playoffs because they had a good team. They had a great regular season last year. Everything's cool. I was a big Raptors fan until this Drake character. That is someone everybody can relate to. That isn't a horror fan, or that is a horror fan, that isn't a basketball fan, that knows anything. Drake, I like him as an artist. As a freaking person/fan, he is worse than Spike Lee was when he was freaking repping the Knicks. He should understand. He's a performer himself. How would he like it if somebody came up and was rubbing his shoulders in the middle of him freaking spitting out some rhymes on the stage? No class at all. And
it's not like he just showed up though. He's been there for a while. He's been a fan.
And he makes delicious coffee cakes.
He's been waiting for that joke.
Are you ready? That's not. Let's kick it out. Let's talk about horror movies tonight. We're going to talk about horror movies. We're going to review 5 of them. We have a trilogy of a non-horror type. Yes.
So we're not reviewing 5 horror movies. We're reviewing 2 horror movies and 3 non-horror movies.
Okay. But we're still doing 2, but they're by a horror director by the name of Lucio Fulci. And we're going to talk about that. It's You're the Patron that was given to us by Derek B. And the other 2 triple R's from other patrons. And we'll announce who they are when the time comes because at the top of my head, I can't remember. You know, they're not even all triple R's. No, they're not. They're full reviews, actually. Mark Latham picked The Cell. This is the top of my head. I'm not reading nothing. People that are on the patron can see that.
He's got nothing in his hands, folks.
Honor thy patron?
Honor thy patron. And the other one was from Derek B, and it's a full review for Flowers. So, boom, they're 5 full reviews. But we'll get to that when we get to that. That's what we're talking about tonight. We're going to have some fun. Christian, seriously, though, congratulations. Everybody in Canada is suddenly a basketball fan. But that's okay. I'm happy for the Raptors. And Christian, again, congratulations for bringing back TGIF 13.
Oh, well, thank you. Nice,
thanks for that.
10-month hiatus. Fuck you. You're gonna be the one with you're the only one with just this show. So when this ends, you're gonna be like weeping in your pillow.
The funny thing is, you were the guys who warned me. 1 show. That's all you should do. Now these guys are branching out. They got 40 shows apiece.
No,
but hold on. When I do my shows, WATZ is 1 show a month. This show is 2 shows a month, right? ABC's is like bi-monthly. That's really it. Banana Laser is like 2 shows a year. So it's not like I'm doing a full schedule of anything. Everybody wants to go full schedule. That's the problem. What Christian is doing, they're just putting on a show when they're in the mood for it.
Once a year.
Like Banana Laser. Yeah, almost once a year. It's been 10 months for a proper show with him and Vince. Yes, absolutely. But to do a full other show where you're putting out freaking, every single week you have to record and watch movies, that's too much for anybody. Unless that's your entire life. And if
it drops the
salute.
quality when you do it like that.
And you spread yourself thin.
Yeah, if you listen to 22 Shots, you could just hear the quality dropping week to week.
Minute to minute.
Minute to minute.
I'm kidding, boys. I love doing the boys. Vince and I, like we said, we had gotten together one other time before that, contemplated doing a show. We felt like it'd be too rushed, so we didn't do it. So we actually do think about shit like that. Whether that comes through on the show or not is another thing. But we talked a lot about a lot of things. Like we had that whole discussion about the word fag and when it can be used.
Oh my gosh, you said that word online. Oh
Yeah.
what are we 22 shots? Actually, I should strike that from the comments.
I'm talking about I'm talking about the fact that Vince and I had this discussion because I needed to find out if and when it was ever appropriate for someone to say it that wasn't gay, whether it be a joke or not, and what his thought point was. And he says he doesn't even really use it. He says he doesn't really use it either. Well, he jokingly said that he uses it when he's with his gay friends every now and then, but then he kind of said afterwards that he really actually tries to avoid the word.
But that's not. Of course, he avoids the word. That's not that. You asked it wrong, and he answered it wrong. I would have said.
I asked
and
it
I
wrong.
tried,
Okay.
No. I shouldn't say you asked it wrong. Let me strike that from the record as well. What I should say is, after he kind of gave you a non-committal answer, you should have rephrased the question to say, "This is what I want to know." A friend of mine said, and this language is used on their page and sometimes on their show and amongst their friends and whatever. And we know that he himself has no issue with homosexuality. So we know that he's not doing it to be mean or anything. That's just the way they roll, whatever. But when somebody says it, oh, hey, if you don't watch this movie, you're a fag. And that was the way it was presented. That's what I would have said to Vince. And that is what I wanted to talk to my friend Andrew Huff about from Friday the 13th podcast. I spoke to him one day online about it. I said, I want to give you a phone call because I want your opinion on this. And I was going to say, this, because, on their show, they actually talk about horror in the media and horror in real life.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see if they could do a take on it. Well, one thing led to another, and we ended up not having the phone call, and we started talking about some other things because we're doing the show with Duncan over the summer, and we're doing a show there. But it didn't happen. The phone call
got messed up. So you're saying he blew it.
I'm not saying anything of the sort. I'm saying maybe he's listening now, and he'll get back to me and say, "Oh, hey, listen," and this is the input. But I wanted to ask him.
Here,
seriously,
here, and here. Let's get it.
As a game, and we do make cracks like that, and obviously, we joke about everything. I'm an Italian. I'll joke about my people doing this and that. We joke about Jewish people. Brandon's Jewish. We do this stuff. We bust balls.
He is?
We do it.
Nobody's perfect. That's all I got to say to that.
But we do that stuff. And if you do say a word like that, as a person who is gay, how do you feel about that? I would like to know. I don't use that word. And I said it. You heard me in the conversation. I said the N-word, saying fag, saying retard are words that you may use in your private life, maybe in jest, not in a hate way, but it's still not smart to use them online or in any public forum.
I have a friend who's a mentally challenged homosexual black man, so I could use all three of those.
But that's just it. It's
and
just
he's
not
Jewish.
right.
And
He's Jewish. My God, he's got it all. He's running the gamut over there. It's just my opinion is it's not wise.
Thank God he's mentally challenged.
Listen, I don't know. Somebody get back to us on this. But who knows, honestly, if that's how it is. And everybody's different. I mean, if you know that it's used that way, you know what I mean? We don't talk that way here. But
well, I think the important distinction you made is that we know Moods personally, so we knew it wasn't coming from a place of hate. But, in a group, right, when you have a lot of people, obviously, if you don't know the person, sometimes it can get taken out of context. But to defend Moods, he's the least hateful person, when it comes to all different people.
The funniest part is it wasn't even Moods. It wasn't even Moods that offended me with it, even though he's the one that started it. It was the diehard fan base and their reactions to it that I thought were absolute asinine responses.
I agree.
That's what it was. It just it annoyed me so much, and they're like, "Oh, look how cool we are," because we'll just throw it around like it's nothing. And it actually, I don't care if you don't mean it to be funny. The response was ugly.
Right. It was ugly. I agree.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it, and that's where my problem lies.
But my question was, as a gay person, how do you feel about any person using that, but not in a hateful manner, like that way? That's what I wanted to ask Vince. That's what I'd like to ask Andrew and any gay friend I may have, and especially if they're a horror fan, because this is a horror group. You know what I mean? And horror peeps.
Well, Vince did answer to the gay thing way back when. If he says, he doesn't even like when people say, "Oh, that's gay," unless it's a cock and balls dangling in your face.
Real gay. Right.
That's gay. Pretty gay.
And I'll be like, feed me.
And delicious.
But people have done that for years. I never said fag. I don't say, you're stuff. But I have in the past, in a non-hurtful way, say, that's gay. You know what I mean? Yeah. Basically, gay is another way of saying lame. That's what it became in my personal vernacular. At certain times. It's not meant to be hate. It's just meant to be, that's weak. That's lame. It's just another way to say it. We're not saying that people that are homosexual are weak and lame and all that other stuff. That's just what it became.
Yeah.
Of course, this day and age, I would never say that. I would never even venture. I know better. Whether I mean it to be hurtful or not, I know how it can be construed by other people. So I'm not going to say those words. But the question still remains. I would like to know what they think about that. And I think that most of our listeners, at least half of our listeners, are going to be pretty sensitive about that stuff, because that's kind of half the world now. Half the world is one way and half the world is another. It's just the way it is. You look at go online and see people fighting about it politically and where it's going. And I'm not saying I'm definitely not super sensitive, and I'm definitely not on the other side either, where I'm spouting off things.
It's tough because I'm a huge stand-up comedy fan, and some of my favorite comics joke about blacks, Jews, cancer,
Puerto Ricans,
killing kids, the Holocaust, the most awful things. And it all depends on the context of the joke.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. And, the whole idea behind making those awful things funny is that they're not victimizing the individual. It's almost making fun of the situation rather than, attacking this group of people.
My favorite sorry, yeah. Brent, I didn't realize you weren't done. No, you continue.
No, I was gonna say my favorite stand-up is Ricky Gervais, and he's filthy like that, and he'll attack everyone, but he'll defend his jokes to no end, and he's a brilliant guy, and he makes great points about it, and he has no offense towards anyone. Well, and I'm the same way. I say things, I tell my friends filthy, disgusting jokes, but I know there's a time and a place.
Right.
Well, my favorite stand-up comedy special ever is Eddie Murphy's Delirious.
Yeah.
To this day, it's still my favorite. But that's a time capsule of early 80s, and boy, that word homosexual, fag, that's thrown around left, right, and center. He's actually apologized for it since, which I don't think you have to ever do, because it's still, in the context of the joke, it's funny. But once again, I'm also not gay. So I wonder if, that's another question I'll have to ask Vince, and maybe we'll ask Andrew as well, when we do our gay round table. It sounds like which is where we're heading to.
Let's do it, baby. A gay round table. We're going to get every gay podcaster on and just talk about it.
It'll be called Straight Talk.
I know I'm not a very religious Jewish person, but as somebody who hears these awful Holocaust jokes and stuff like that, and I take them just as they are, as jokes. And I recently saw a documentary where not only were they talking about doing Holocaust jokes, they had Holocaust survivors watching different stand-up routines. They had them watching Sarah Silverman's routine on the Holocaust and different comics.
Were they laughing?
And believe it or not, some of the survivors actually found it funny. And they talked about comedy helping them make it through the camps. And then there were others who were like, I can't even talk about it. This isn't funny, but, to each his own. So
exactly.
There's definitely arguments for both. It's just, pick and choose your times.
But then you got to think about this. It seems the people that are making these jokes usually are a member of that community themselves. I don't think. Look at what they said on Seinfeld. Do you remember that episode of Seinfeld when Jerry's comedian friend, who wasn't that funny, converted to Judaism when they started making Jewish jokes.
That was
because,
Heisenberg. That was what's his name from Breaking Bad. Yeah, he converted to Judaism to make the Jew jokes.
And that's what he said. He goes, he converted to Judaism just for the jokes, and he was mad about it. And he goes, does that offend you as a Jewish person? No, it offends me as a comedian.
That's great. Give me a shtickle of fluoride.
Yeah.
And this is the perfect episode to be discussing this on, because this is, for all intents and purposes, probably our most non-horror show that we'll be doing.
Exactly. You're right. It is non-horror. It's probably not going to happen again because we raised the price on the feature because we decided that we needed, if someone's really going to do it, hey, man, you're going to pay through the nose. But anyway.
And you know what? Again, I still think Derek did it the best way.
I'm offended.
Hey, well, we're Italians. We got big noses, too.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah, shit.
Not quite as big as Roxanne over here, but...
Roxanne. Anyway, yeah, jokes is jokes. What are you going to do? I don't know. This is the society we live in. Me, I'm going to make a joke in my own home, but not a hateful joke. But I'm not going to make every single joke I make at home on the air. It's just not even in front of friends that are in my home. Maybe to my wife and my wife only, or my brother. That's it. That's as far as it's going to go, or my lifelong friend. But I mean, you know what I mean? You got to be careful, man. You just...
Give us a joke.
Who, me? A joke, huh?
No?
Off the top of my head, no. I can't do things on the spot. That's my weakness. That is really my weakness in life. I'm very bad when put on the spot to do anything. Everything with me is of the moment. Like if I sing a song, I burst out, or I don't plan this shit. I don't plan anything I do. That's why I got notes, because I got to look at it and say, okay, I better think about this, But anyway, let's move on. We're going to talk about some things, some horror movies. Maybe we should just do a quick review, get one out of the way, come back to some emails, maybe answer a question. Yeah. Okay. Let's do it. What should we do first? We gotta bounce. We gotta go. We got the 3 Fulcis, and then we got the other 2. So
why don't we do one of the Fulci?
One of the Fulci. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. You know what? I have a method for my choosing this one first.
Oh, great. Here we go again.
Okay, and we're going to start off with 1983's Conquest.
Nice. The one I wanted to talk about the most. Awesome.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Lucio Fulci, director. A young man armed with a magical bow and arrow embarks on a mystical journey through a mystical land to rid it of all evil and join forces with an outlaw to take down an evil witch bent on claiming the magic bow for evil.
Woo. Okay. Let me say something controversial right this second.
You loved it.
1983. Lucio Fulci makes this movie. He should have quit horror right then and there and just started doing these fantasy movies. He should have changed.
Are you kidding me?
You lost your mind?
Yeah, I'm with Brandon.
I'm not.
I wanted to get this one out of the way.
This movie looks like a really bad dream.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They use too many fog machines.
Oh my God,
yes,
everything's dream. It's dream filtered. It looks like the end scene of Carrie for the whole goddamn movie. It looks like there's a Clash of the Titans. This is fucking crazy.
Perseus, right off the bat, is what I thought of. 100%.
Clash of the Titans, right?
Yeah. Yes, Perseus. Yes, I want to see this movie cleaned up.
I don't think you could say that word on the podcast. Is it a hairy Perseus?
I want to see this movie cleaned up because of the way we got it. Doesn't look that good. I don't know if it's out on Blue or anything, but I want to see a clear-cut version of this film where I can really see everything. Because I'll tell you what, this movie, on top of having good gore when it was on the screen, Fulci gore, you can say that pretty much about all these movies, that the one thing he did was keep the freaking gore going, which is great. You don't see fantasy movies with gore in it. So it had that going for it. The story, forget about Troll 2. This is the movie you want to freaking crack beers and freaking with your boys and have fun laughing at it.
Okay, I'll give you that.
It's so bad, it's good, and it's entertaining and violent at the same time. It's a rare. I want to see more of this. It's like creating a subgenre. This movie has the allure to me. What I think that other people that watch like kaiju films or kung fu films from the early days that I'm not really into, but I could understand why they like them. This is like something for me. I want more of this shit. I wish he did a trilogy of this.
Brandon's losing his fucking mind. I gotta agree a little bit. I'm between both of you two. I
agree with some of the things Dave said, but
I'm like the cream of the Oreo cookie. Well, who am I? We didn't even introduce ourselves. Kristen.
I said, go ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take it. The reality is, like, my movie like this that I loved was Sword and the Sorcerer. That had the violence, that had, like, it was all this time frame as well, and it had some gore and some blood for, I believe, a PG-13 movie as well. It didn't have a wishbone lady that pretty much got torn in half. It didn't go to that extreme, but it was enjoyable and intense for when I was that age. This one is just fucked up. The narrative is so lucid that it just kind of loses me. But I can totally get cracking some beers and just sitting back and laughing.
It's great. It's fun. I watched it by myself, and I had a blast. This movie alone, I'm so glad that Derek had this idea for Fulci's non-horror movies, because it brought this movie into my life. I'm telling you, this is a subgenre that's untouched. That I think there was only one movie made like this. There's no other movie in the world like this, I don't think. And I really wish you would have done more of this, because I don't know what to tell you guys. You're not going to see another movie like this. Like your sword and the sorcery thing. To me, that's kind of boring and takes itself too seriously. I have the power. I guess I'm doing He-Man, but whatever. that stuff always kind of bored me. Or this, because of the ridiculous part of, like, I love Clash of the Titans, don't get me wrong, but like when all of a sudden he pulls the bow and arrow and it freaking turns into that blue thing and shoots off just out of nowhere. It's amazing. Who thinks to do that? And then the dolphins at the end. Oh, come on. You don't see that stuff in normal films.
The stupid dolphins.
I'll take those dolphins rescuing that guy over the freaking zombie versus shark in his other movie. How's that?
The damn zombie, those zombies. The dolphins took forever to rescue that guy.
That's
the guy drowned.
That's why it's great.
I'd like to announce my retirement for the show. I don't think I have anything left to say. I don't think I can speak.
That's not entertaining to you? That they took
You're welcome.
The guy should have been dead.
You did.
That's hysterical.
You got me off the show.
Troll 2 wishes it could be freaking this.
I hate Troll 2.
So do I, because it's not so bad. It's good. I don't watch that movie and laugh at it at all.
It's bad. It's horrible. It's just bad.
But this movie, come on, dolphins rescuing that guy underwater that way? That's ridiculous.
I'll say one thing about this movie, and something you said right away that I agree with. I would like to see it cleaned up for the sake of seeing that gore showcased in a much clearer version, because that's the one thing I loved about this film.
Yep.
Maybe this is my downfall, even for, a horror fantasy film like this, which you're right, it isn't really done at all.
No.
But my problem is I'm always focused on story, and I've just found too many, like, inconsistencies here and too much walking around and days, like, where there was too much lull between the good parts. I like the dolphins. I laughed at the fact that he was underwater for 4.5 hours. I wrote this down in my notes. You're not saying anything that's not ridiculous, but I was focused on the story. And from the very opening scene where Ilias is receiving the bow, I don't know if it's from his father or whoever it's
or
receiving
God.
it from.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Zeus.
You notice for like the first 40 minutes of the movie, when he uses the bow, he runs out of arrows. It's not really magical. It doesn't become magical until the end.
That's what's great about it.
It doesn't make any sense, though.
That's why it's great, because that's what I'm trying to say. That's the fun of it. It's something just to take. Why take it? I'm not taking it seriously. I'm enjoying the ride because of the gore and because of the ridiculous stuff, but not schlocky. I don't want to see Monty Python and that guy in the woods. It's just a flesh wound and cutting off the freaking limbs one at a time.
Oh, come on. I love
it goes
that.
on. It's just not funny to me. After the first time, it just loses it. Where this it's just more creative to me. There's more behind it to me. It's not the same joke for 5 minutes.
I can't believe this. Like, I get
we'll
Dave's
call this one
enthusiasm. Yeah. No, I think the first 20 minutes and the last 20 minutes
how good they looked.
Are great. Those Bigfoots.
They looked amazing. How did they even do that? I can't see that it's a mask. It really looks better than freaking watching Planet of the Apes. Granted, it's not cleaned up, and we watch it on a cloudy feed, the whatever the thing that Derek sent us.
No, I watched it on Tubi TV as well, and it was the exact same.
But it looked good. Those creatures looked good. I would have believed that they were, not really, I'm exaggerating, but I'm saying I would have believed that those were really Bigfoots.
Dude, the one head creature who got sacrificed, who got killed after he failed his mission, that Fado, He had the puppy dog nose. All I wrote was Scott's puppy dog nose. I swear. And if this ever gets cleaned up, you'll notice that. But I mean, the looks were fine. It was just, I just found the pacing to be very slow and dull.
I'm with you, B.
Wow.
First 20, last 20.
But I do agree that, yeah, there were certain parts, like when they're in the cave and stuff, and where it got really good and like violent and nasty, and I'm like, this is good. And then
Scalped them.
oh man, there was some. I mean, Fulci's gore is on display, like you said, in all three of these movies.
Yes, especially this. Wow.
Yeah, but I couldn't get past the lulls.
Wow.
I'm not saying I disliked it, but this is my least favorite movie of the night.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
mine too. Of all 5 movies.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh man, I want more stuff like this. This should be a subgenre on its own.
But it is. It is. It's just not
Really?
Well,
Fancy gory movies.
Well,
that
they've
are
got the Red
ridiculous?
Sonja. Like, I mean, I don't know how much. There's always a little bit of blood and gore mixed in with those. Maybe not lasers.
Dude,
Yeah.
that arrow scene was
Dolphins.
ridiculous. That raining
Oh, it was
arrow
great.
scene.
When it went, that was hysterical. When they were all over the place. That was amazing.
What was that?
I don't know, but it was amazing. How could you not like that?
It was comical, but it was like, are you kidding me? Like,
Oh, what about those water zombies? They were fucking
the
phenomenal.
water zombies were good. When Mace fought the water zombies, I did like that.
What were they? And then he stabbed it, and the green came out of the one, and later on they were bleeding red. And they had, oh, dude, it was one thing after another. It was a hodgepodge of crazy shit thrown out there, and just go with it. And it's gory, and it's fun. And they don't try too hard. They're not trying to be funny. That's why I like it. That's why I don't like Army of Darkness, because you're trying to be funny, and you're putting out lame jokes. To me, I know some people like it, but when you're trying to be funny, you're putting out lame jokes, it doesn't do it. But this movie, they're trying to take themselves seriously, and it's so ridiculous that it's funny. To me, that's more my type of humor. I love watching movies like that are ridiculous when they're not trying too hard. They're trying too hard to do other stuff, but it backfires, and that's why it's so great. Oh.
I don't know. I just wish the story had been a little bit more coherent, because you got this character.
What do you need to know? He's
I mean,
fighting bad. That's all I need.
Yeah, but why is he coming from his realm, which is like this perfect paradise, to fight evil? And he has absolutely no powers with the bow, and he winds up, well, I won't spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but you know, his character arc plays out, and the true power of the bow isn't revealed until Mace takes over and starts using it.
Okay, so you would rather watch a superhero movie where in the first half an hour of the movie, everything is explained and this and that, sometimes over-explained, and you'd already know in the back of your head how it's going to end, and you're going to know beat by beat what's going to happen. You'd rather see a concise film, a regular movie, that just because you want to know everything that goes on, that's going to make the movie better. Don't you like the element of surprise? And you don't need to know. It's good versus evil. You know how many movies I've watched where I couldn't follow it? I just kind of went with it. Matter of fact, another Fulci movie we're going to talk about, I didn't know what was going on. I was lost in the first 15 minutes, and because of that, I suffered the whole time, because they try to over-explain everything, and they make it much more serious than it has to be. Where a movie like this, maybe I'm just a simpleton, and I like the fact that it's that simple, and I don't have to think too hard. Maybe that's just it. Maybe sometimes when it's ridiculous like this, and you have snakes all over the place, and this happening, and freaking arrows, and Dawn of the Dead type action music, because you have freaking Claudio Simonetti on there.
Yes, Simonetti's score was good. I'm not saying I don't like the surprise element to it. I actually enjoyed that, but the inconsistencies in the setup of the story is mixed in with the too many lulls. Too much of watching Mace, rowing that boat for 20 minutes. It's like, I mean, come on. Like,
it's true. Are we watching it in fucking real time here?
Is this a nature documentary I'm watching here?
I like the fact that you liked it, Dave, but I'm shocked at how much you seem to have liked it.
I really did.
Watch, I'll come in higher than Dave.
No, you're not going to. No, listen. The conversations they had were even good, because he disrespected man, but he doesn't hurt the animals, and they have that whole gimmick going. He goes, well, why'd you eat that animal? He goes, well, I wasn't the one that killed it. And
that's the thing. For somebody who's
so
against killing and hurting animals, every other scene he's got a dead animal that he finds. He's like, we got food.
That's the beauty of it. He didn't kill anything. And how about those birds? You know what those birds reminded me of 100%? The bat in Suspiria. The way they moved with their big fat bat and the wings. I kept thinking of Suspiria. I go, oh, this is great. It was just, I don't know, man. It just.
That was Meatloaf. That was a bat out of hell.
Woo! And that guy looked like Jack Frost towards the end. How about that one guy that was talking, that snowman looking thing? It was like Jack Frost. I never saw Jack Frost in my life. I figured I have no desire to watch Jack Frost, but to see Jack Frost show up for 30 seconds in this movie for no reason is freaking great.
I came back. I'm not scared anymore.
Yeah. How about when they go and he says, "Oh, what about that girl?" And he's like, "Oh, well, she's my girl when I'm in town." And he's like, "You can have her too if you want." Oh, I love that shit.
Yeah, I'm with you, B.
Yeah, I'm happy. I really am happy that Dave loves this. Derek will certainly be thrilled.
I know there's an audience for this. I know that
there definitely is. There definitely is. And I think everything you said is the audience that's for it. That can sit back and just sort of, crack a few beers and enjoy it for what it is. Maybe I'm just being too much of a tight ass looking for a cohesive storyline and a better pacing. Maybe I should just let loose and just enjoy it more for what it is. But with the character development, they developed these characters pretty well, but there were too many inconsistencies. Even I just didn't get the whole point of Okran, this evil witch, having to summon the wolf, the white dog, whatever his name was.
That was great. What do you mean? And then it paid off. It actually worked. That was something else that was great about this. That cool ending, and then the after party ending, the freaking the tacked on thing at the end, which was even better. But when you see what happens with good against evil and her making this deal with this freaking whatever, and then it actually worked out a certain way, I was like, holy shit. You see somebody carrying a head. I'm like, wow. I thought they were going to take it away from me. I said, this is so good that they're not going to stick with this.
I like the head part. I like the head part because that was definitely a shock because
good effects too.
It was great effects, but it shouldn't have been surprising because said character was weak from the beginning, even with this magical weapon.
Hey,
no spoilers.
That's life.
No spoiler.
I'm not scared anymore. Should have stayed away, buddy.
This magic arrow that the gods gave me doesn't work.
I'll tell you this: if I
give it to Fabio, it'll work.
How about when the snake showed him the way? What'd you say, Fabio?
That's what it looked like.
Mace.
Awesome. How about for no reason they got trapped in that cave? And I don't know why they got trapped. They went in there to fight people, and then 5 minutes later, after they defeated them, it seemed like all of a sudden they were trapped in the cave, and I didn't know why. And then a snake somehow showed them the way out. Because
the snake was
he slithered through that hole, and all of a sudden he was just able to pick the rocks apart with his hands.
It was great. Oh, it's so much better than watching a Godzilla film or. I don't know, to me, I know people love that stuff, and I understand why they love it. That's their cup of tea. They know that it's not to be taken too seriously. It's kind of hokey, those kaiju films and those kung fu movies and whatever weird subgenre you can come up with. But there aren't enough movies like this. I know that people that like those kind of movies would probably get a kick out of this movie. I don't know. I got a kick out of it. What else could I say? Thank you, Derek. If for nothing else for this show, you brought that movie into my life, and I really hope it gets a good release, and I can watch it with my friends.
Wow. So what was the review, or what was your rating?
8.5.
Holy smoke.
Yeah, great.
I'm a 6 out of 10.
I'm a 5 out of 10. I'm sorry. I actually came up a little bit. You talked me into it. You made me almost feel guilty for going below 5, but I just...
Hey.
He showcases his gore really well for a non-horror film, but again, there's
messy.
Pacing issues. It's very messy. There's some really positive things going on here, but it's just a mess of an hour and 25 minutes.
That's fair. It didn't seem messy to me. I just rode along. And how about that mask? It was like the one from Demons. You notice that when they
Okran's mask.
Yeah, dude, it totally reminded me of
mask. Yeah, that was a cool scene when they take her mask off at the end.
Yes.
Yeah, the big reveal.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right.
There is some good stuff, man. You pointed out all the good stuff.
Yeah. I guess that.
The other 60 minutes is them just walking or rafting.
Okay. We got some emails and some messages and some things. We'll do something. First, you know what? I'm going to read this part because it has to do with both shows that I've done. I read it on the WotZ Party because the second half was about them, but I still have to read it here because it has to do with us. And this is from Shane T. And I'm going to read the first half. New listener to your show, to your guys' show, and I really enjoy it. Show sounds professionally recorded, and you guys are an endless wealth of information. Correct or not, I don't care. There's constant informative and entertaining content, exactly what any program should be. Enjoying what you guys are throwing down. Great job. From Shane T. in Sioux City, Iowa. So,
Awesome.
There you go. Yeah,
Thank
man.
you, Shane T.
Yeah. Love to hear that stuff, man. Thank you. And we have many new patrons, excuse me. They've been coming a lot the last 2 months, and we used to shout every single one out, but I can't keep up with it. So maybe the next show we'll just shout every patron out that we have again, like we did.
That's all we'll do next show. No reviews, nothing.
Yeah.
Just shouting out names.
You're the patron, so we're just going to mention all your names and talk about you and if we know you and how we feel about you. So, okay. Speaking of this, we have our homie Jordi Ostier. Hi, Exploding Heads. It's been a while since I emailed you guys, so here's another email from me. You are all still doing a great job. That is all.
Oh, that's all that needs to be said.
You. Right. Thank you. Thank you for reaching out, Mr. Jordi. And I wish Klasklag 12. I hope it's 12. Is it 13? Either way, that's his podcast, but it's I don't speak Finnish. Is it Finnish?
You're Finnish.
Is it pronounced Jordi?
Yes, that I know.
Okay.
Yes,
that we were always saying Jordi for a while.
Yes, I know.
Silent O or Silent J.
Silent O.
Judy.
Judy. It's Judy. The O turns to a U.
And Dave Gabbard, our homie, has finally done it all. He's been slowly going through our whole catalog, and he has now officially rated every single movie that we have rated. They're all there. He's done it all. He's gone through every show, including at the end, he had a lot of work to do with the Slasher show and our year-end shows and things like that. And we now have it all. So Dave Gabbard, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We have to find a way to put that other one. I put the Slasher one on our group page, and this one, we're going to have to put it all together. We did all the year-end shows. So basically, if you ever want to know any movie that we've rated and what we've rated it, it's all there in our library. We just have to find a way to do it. But we really thank you for think about that. This guy listened to all our shows and to rate them for us. So
that he deserves a medal just for that alone.
Shit, huh? So thank you. Hopefully we'll eventually get a website if we ever have time, and we'll put it on there. And one more thing, Eric Webster is back.
Sexy Ball Man, another song?
Yes.
A follow-up song? What? I thought you were bullshitting
what it is. No, it's right here. Hey, guys, here's a voicemail for you. I have no idea what it is. I had never played it yet. I'm going to play it right now. So.
Hey, guys, what's up? Sexy Ball Man's in the house. I'm glad you guys liked my song. That was some good fun. I just wanted to touch base with you guys, let you know I really enjoyed listening to you talk about Guillermo del Toro. Having Ram Man on.
Yeah.
That was fun. If you haven't seen his older films like Kronos and The Devil's Backbone, you should definitely check those out. They're not quite as polished as his later bigger budget efforts, but they are still excellent films that you should look at if you haven't already. I also want to give you guys a thank you. Here's the story. Back when I was middle school in the 80s, my family didn't have a whole lot of money, so we didn't have cable. One night at a sleepover at a friend's house, there were like 4 of us, and the other guys fell asleep, and I was still up watching whatever was on cable. And I came across this movie, and all I remember about the movie is that there were a bunch of people in the woods by a bus, and somebody got killed with a booby trap that involved a branch swinging out with a bunch of can lids on it. So I was watching this movie, and my friend's mom got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and saw what I was watching and made me turn it off. So I didn't get to see the rest of the movie, and I never knew what the movie was. And I've been wondering what the hell that movie was ever since then, since the mid-'80s. So,
oh, no. Okay.
I was listening to you guys talk, and you started talking about The Final Terror.
Oh my
And
God.
I heard you mention a bus in the woods. I'm like, a bus in the woods? A bus in the could that be the movie? So I tracked it down. It's actually on Prime Video. And I'll be damned if I didn't get my booby trap with the can lids on it in the opening scene of the movie. I was like, yes, this is the movie. So I watched it, and well, it's not a classic, but it's not horrible either. I've seen a lot worse. But the important part is after 30 some odd years, I finally tracked the fucking thing down and got to see it thanks to you guys. So thank you for helping me track down the final terror after all these years. Appreciate it. Great show. Keep up the good work.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
That's a great story.
Same story. I have the same
Yeah,
story. I have the same story. Not that movie, but when I was a kid, I saw a movie. Anyone who knows me knows I'm into golf. I was a golfer from a young age, and I just remember up late one night when I was young watching TV, and there was a scene where they were out on a golf course, and all of a sudden a ninja shows up and murders everyone on the golf course.
Ninja 3.
Ninja 3.
I didn't exactly, and it wasn't until about 20 years later, like literally, like probably a year or two ago, that somebody said it in the 22 Shots group to me. Like, that's Ninja 3. I'm like, what? I went and I checked it out. I'm like, holy shit, this is the movie. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Wow, I
Same
saw
thing.
that for the first time this year because we did it on ABC's The Hidden Horror, and I never saw it. And I watched it. I was like, whoa, that was fun. And in a way, Ninja 3's the way some people are into Ninja 3. That's kind of like going back to Conquest. It's like a Conquest type of movie.
I could see that, and I love Ninja 3, so I totally could see that.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. But Eric, thank you very much. Speaking of Eric Webster,
man. Yeah.
again, did you guys see that he was doing the panel with the freaking the girls
The
from
Nightmare on Elm
Elm
Street. Yeah, the Nightmare on Elm Street.
Wow, what an experience for him. That's fucking great. So congrats to you on taking part in that and, having dark discussions. I'm sure it had to go through dark discussions somehow for him to be at that event and be on a panel. Could you imagine one of us being on a panel with people like that?
Fucking phenomenal. Was it just him or was the rest of the team there? It was
I
Philip
just
there
saw
and
him.
all that? No,
It was just him.
It was just him posting, so I wasn't sure. Okay, cool.
Dude, you guys are not going to believe this. But when we were talking about this right now, and what Eric said about the movie and what you said about the movie, Brandon, it brought me back to a message that a friend from high school sent me back in 2011 that I was never able to answer. And I'm going to read this email read this Facebook message on the show right now and see if anybody can help him, because I never even responded because I didn't know what it was. And it was back in 2011. How great would it be if in 2019 I could message him back and say, oh yeah, that movie is this. So I just thought of it because somebody straight up asked me. I'm going to read you what this note says. DZ, hope you are well, buddy. It's been too long. So I see you are big into the horror movie scene, and I have been trying to find out the name of a movie for about 6 months. But no matter how hard I search, I cannot find the answer. So I figured I would give you a shot. Flick starts off with a guy and a girl in a diner, and all they are talking about is how great the pancakes are. They are just lavishing each other with compliments, and she is just going off about how great the pancakes are. They talk about moving to a tropical paradise where he will make her pancakes forever. As they pan out, everybody in the diner has been massacred by them. The police arrive outside, and they have a bag of money, and they decide to make a run for it. Then the gunfire hits. Next scene, he is in a prison van, and she busts him out by hitting the van with a truck and knocking it down a ravine. She breaks him out. Long story short, he ends up killing her, even though he loves her, because this is his hell, and he was such a monster. The only punishment the devil could give him was to murder the only person he ever loved over and over again. Help me out here, DZ. It was a great flick, and I can't find it anywhere. Anyone? Yeah, I couldn't think of anything that it resembled.
Texas Chainsaw Pancake Titty Monster Man? No?
Well, no. Guys, I hope somebody listening knows this and I can get back to this buddy of mine 9 years later and tell him what the movie was. Because I was like, damn, how do I not know what he's talking about? And I've never heard anybody mention anything even close to it. Isn't that crazy?
Did he mention it like a decade, a time frame?
No, but no. Whatever I just read you was what I read you, but I don't remember now. I wish I don't know.
I can't help your friend right now, but I want to.
That's okay.
I'm Googling pancakes.
Wow, 18 people asked us a question on the show. We're going to take the best 3. So I don't know.
That's right.
That's what I said. I said we're about to record. Decided that answer the best 3 questions you may have for us. What do you guys got? So we'll select what the best 3 are, and we'll answer them. Obviously, we can't do it right now because we haven't all looked at the post. But we'll see. I just thought it would be fun because it is what it is.
You could pick for us.
You think I could pick what the best? I'll tell you what. By default, I can actually already knock them all out.
Well, let's go through them then.
Yeah, tell us a good joke.
Okay, Cole Antovich says, is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
No, because I'm still hanging on to mine. Barely.
There's the answer. So no. Okay, Alan Lawrence, do you have to lick it before you stick it, or can you lick it after you stick it? Oh, Christian, I know you have opinions on that. It's ass to mouth, or it's mouth to ass, never ass to mouth, right?
Yeah. Dyslexic. You can do whatever you want.
I've licked it after I've stuck it.
I got no funny. I'm not
before,
in a comedic mood tonight. I'm sick as an idiot.
Oh, what are you going to do? Okay, I'll do one more and then we'll go on to our next movie. Top 5 Asian horror movies and top 5 European horror movies. There's no way we can answer that, so we're going to pass on. Okay, let's talk about a movie. What are we going to talk about next? The Cell or The Flowers? Or Flowers, not The Flowers. Flowers.
What do you guys think?
Let's do Flowers.
No, I don't care. All right.
Of course, you have to pick fucking Flowers. The one I had the Cell pulled up to fucking talk about now.
It's the internet. It should take, what, an extra 2 seconds to get the Flowers.
What year was
I know,
that?
right?
2015.
It's like dial-up.
Oh, wait, I just saw it.
Oh,
There it is.
Guy.
Okay, there it is. Flowers. In 2015, an abstract, surreal horror film centered around 6 dead women waking up in the crawl space below their killer's house. And this was written and directed by Phil Stevens. And it was actually my number 11 film of that year.
I knew you were high into it. And that's
Yeah.
actually a spoiler of a synopsis, because you don't really find that out till the end of the movie, which is, to me, part of the charm. Like, what's going on here? Why? This, that, the other thing. And then you see at the end what's really happened, you know?
You know something? I guess you could kind of take it that way because it's always been sort of described as this way, as, dead women waking up in the house. But I guess you could almost look at it like what is going on. But, I mean, the minute you see them, and they're all sewn up and stuff like that. And,
I think it is a spoiler. I think, truth be told, this is my first time I watched it. It's not what I would call my cup of tea movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a little too long for its own good. That's for an experimental film with no dialogue. That is probably the main problem. There's a lot of too much of the same thing within the hour and 20-minute runtime.
I agree.
I mean, I don't know why. I think because this is usually not my cup of tea either. But for some reason, the visuals here, the aesthetics of this film is the closest thing I've ever seen to like a real nightmare being on screen.
And that's exactly it. The guy has talent. The guy has talent, and it's not just a showcase. It's not like those August Underground, which I don't even know if I've seen once. I don't even know how I could just make that comparison. But from what I understand, it's literally just violence for violence sake shown on camera. This at least has some artistic merit to it. And there's some haunting imagery. I'm not one for experimental films. They've grown on me over time. Usually the one thing that I don't like is if they're overly long, which just happens to be on the long side. But that's really my only critique of the movie from a negative standpoint. Because the look, like you said, Brandon, great. Everybody from a non-professional like actor standpoint, I mean, they don't have dialogue, but they all do amazing in the movie. The guy, the killer's creepy as fuck. It actually has a bigger penis than Brandon.
He was hung like a baby. Holy cow. Poor guy. Was that real?
It had to be.
That real?
Poor guy.
No, he said when he got to set, he said, "You know what? I got this huge penis. I really wish you could make it like a baby's, though."
Maybe he had stage fright, you know?
No, you know what, though? I'm telling you, like, I've had nightmares before where I've woken up, and it's not like I could remember everything, but it's just like, I just feel so uncomfortable. Like, I wake up and I'm like, I don't feel good. That's how I felt after watching this movie the first time. And it had the same effect the second time. It still held up, and it's a very simple story. With each girl representing one of the 6 flowers, and you're basically just seeing their story of how they wound up where they did.
Yeah, man.
Well,
It got better as it went on for me, honestly. To
I
me, the
agree.
first was the weakest. And I was like, oh man, I'm not so sure about this. I think it's going on a little long. I don't know. You know what it reminded me? I was impressed with the gore because it looked real. It was very real looking gore. I was like, okay, I like this. The film stock reminded me 100% of that movie Pieces of Talent.
Yeah,
It looked just like
it's funny that you
right?
bring that up. It reminded me of that, and if I'm going to toot my own horn, not that it reminded me of my own film, but I did do a movie back in 2008 called I, Serial Killer. It was going to be, it's on YouTube, it's still on YouTube, but the original version was its own channel, and it was segments. I used like the television snow. It's so funny that a lot of the imagery is similar. Don't get me wrong, this is much more professionally done and much darker, but if you want to see a revamped version of I, Serial Killer, it's out there. It's on YouTube. You can just search it and compare for yourselves, because that was probably the closest thing to an experimental film I got. And I thought of it constantly as I was watching this and going, fuck, he just took that, like, it just made it a feature-length movie.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
You should,
What a dick.
Fuck,
I hate
put the
you.
link in the show. Put the link in the show notes, Watson style, you know?
I should put the link in the show notes.
Oh, why the hell
I think
not?
I've linked it to our actual page before, and then like 2 people like it. No one actually watches the fucking thing. I'm not saying it's high art, but I'm saying, hey, check it out if you like horror. And it's only fucking 10 minutes long.
Damn straight, homie. Why not?
Yeah,
I'll watch it.
I felt it dragged for the first 10. I serial killer. What is it? I serial killer?
It's I Go Fuck Yourself.
So was the first girl fighting puke? Was that what was going on here? She was, or because if so, that's the first time I've ever seen that in a situation like this, and I like it if that's the case. But I couldn't tell.
Was what?
Was she fighting? You know, having to vomit? Was she like trying not to puke? She kept doing this movement as she was walking through stuff, and she was discovering what was going on, and she kept coming across this gross gore and stuff like that. I'm thinking, in the way she moved, it was like she was. I don't know if she was just, if that was the intent.
Well, I do admit the first flower was the most confusing, and for that you might be right, because she sees the image through the floorboards outside of her being dragged to the house, and she's tied up and gagged. So she might have actually choked and thrown up, and that's how she died. She might have asphyxiated on her own vomit.
Oh, wow.
Well, because there are supposed to be, there's hints through it, so that could easily be it.
Yeah.
Maybe so. If so, that's a smart choice. And wow, this is a movie. This was my first time as well. This is the one that I'm going to definitely rewatch.
Yeah.
Like everything I said about Conquest, yes, it's going to be tough for me to watch it again because it's going to have to be cleaned up, and I'm going to have to be with other people. So as much as I was ranting and raving about that movie, this is the movie that I 100% for all the movies tonight am going to watch again, because I think it could just get better upon second view, because it started slow. But
it does a great job of like making this house, even though it's claustrophobic and nasty and just a house of horrors, it feels bigger because they show each girl from a different location.
Yep.
And
it felt Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
definitely.
If Texas Chainsaw was done from a different point of view or a different scenario, it was creepy throughout. Its imagery is disgusting and just a sense of dread throughout. There's no lightheartedness at all from frame one to the end of the movie. And like I said, usually not something that I enjoy or want to see. And you know what made me enjoy the movie a little bit more so is the fact that it reminded me of It's the fact that documentary made me like it even more. Because the heart and soul that you see and the lightheartedness in between takes actually made me appreciate it more. And what this guy did with a Kickstarter budget of like whatever, $20,000 and created the set and the crawl space within his house. The documentary is longer than the movie, and it's a must-see.
It is, yeah. It is.
And it's a good companion piece. And I think it made me appreciate it much more, because I could easily dismiss it as already kind of overlong, descent into gore and dread, but there is more going on here. There's definitely more going on here.
Oh, there's definitely a story to it, and I found it. I mean, maybe I oversimplified it, but I found it very, I don't want to say easy to follow, but once I thought about it after the first time I saw it, I kind of made sense of what I saw and what the ultimate conclusion was, and I was like, all right, this is how I see this movie, and I really enjoyed it. And that gagging was actually with the second girl, with the blood coming through the pipe, and she was the one who she was gutted when she was on like the bed, she was naked, and then you get that fly on the wall perspective, which is, I mean, it's, oh man, and each of them does become a little bit more gory and a little bit more developed, I would say, in terms of the story.
Absolutely. Like I'll repeat it again. It got better as it went on. It kept getting better to me. And by the end, I was like, man, I really want to watch that again, knowing what I know now and with a greater appreciation of everything. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the perfect comparison. And I'll tell you why. That score, it's the perfect music. It's the perfect type of music score for a movie like this, and it's reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw, because Texas Chainsaw doesn't really have a score, neither does this movie. It just has those noises, and
they used like at the end and stuff, and they used like whatever free music and stuff, non-copyrighted music, and I thought whatever sound design and music they did, it worked perfectly. That was one of the standouts for me. And I mean, the visuals, the maggots, the worms, just the nastiness, and the fact that they, these girls are obviously, they're innocent victims. They don't deserve this. Yet when they're looking as to what led them to this point, it's not all, innocent.
You know what? I agree with you.
True.
Yeah. I thought they were going to do a Saw thing almost. And I'm glad they didn't go down that route. The guy is a sicko. It's almost like he picked damaged people. And I thought, oh shit, I hope this is not so hear me out here. Like, when Brandon, it is a spoiler, that description, because I didn't know they were dead. I just was like, oh, they've awoken in the house. And then as it was playing out, I'm like, oh no, they're finding out how they died. And then, like, so you do kind of go through this journey with them. So it is a spoiler to just say that. I like I said, like Dave, I went in not knowing. I didn't even read the description. I just watched the movie.
Of course. Yeah.
I felt like you could figure it out pretty quickly, strictly because when they show their bodies, you see that they're sewn up, so that they're clearly corpses, but also they're looking through these peepholes in the floorboards, or they're crawling out of the bathrooms, and they're seeing all this horrific imagery and all these bodies and skeletons that I think represent them.
Well, yeah, but because of the fact that it's not a traditional story and it is done in an experimental narrative and the way that it's presented to you, that throws it off from being like, that's why I was like, maybe it's not straightforward. That's why I was more accepting of the being able to crawl out of holes and through like mirrors, and that, kicking the door and suddenly the door, like the nightmare, it becomes like that nightmare that we were talking about earlier. So it's not quite as cut and dry. So that's why I don't think I took it as face value when I was watching it.
Yeah, well, and especially with the ending, with when they finally all meet in the one room and the TV comes on and it reveals their fates, maybe if they had presented it, with them looking like they were still alive, it would have been even more of a surprise.
Yeah, you could be.
I was surprised. I didn't know anything until they did it almost like Saw style with the flashback, and there was a reveal of the kill. I think the first kill was a hammer. Either way, I forgot what it was.
The first girl was the one attacked on the street.
Okay, so I didn't know a damn thing. I didn't figure any of this stuff out until they showed one of them actually being murdered. And then I started piecing it together. That's why I want to go back and watch it. And then I'll probably have to watch it a third time because I don't remember how any of them were killed. So,
yeah, well, I wrote it down. It's cool. One of the girls actually finds another victim's body.
Oh, yeah, there was a porn thing going on.
Yeah.
Right, and they actually showed freaking penetration, so I was kind of surprised at that.
Yeah, there was the bag over the head scene in the car. There was the girl cooking drugs. There was a girl cooking drugs who shot in the mouth.
Oh.
However you took it, I think if you watch it the next time knowing that they're dead the whole time, it makes it more powerful because it's really about these girls' struggle to in this sort of like purgatory, this sort of in-between where they have to become accepting of the choices they made in their life and ultimately how their lives ended. And that's how I accept the ending, because if you notice at the end, each of the girls disappears after watching the video, with the exception of the one girl. And that's the one girl, the last flower, who's trying to sew herself up and put herself back together. So I always took that when I'm watching this, that she is not able to accept the fact that she's dead and not able to move on, and therefore she is the only one left behind, stuck in this purgatory when the other 5 have moved on.
Wow. That's deep, man.
That's awesome.
I mean, you know what? I even wrote to another fan of this film who had seen it at the time and was raving it and said, this is how I saw it. What'd you say? And he didn't give me much. He just kind of said, yeah, that's pretty spot on, or I agree. So, I mean, at that point, I realized it didn't matter, but I was interested in how other people took it. But I was just able to make this sort of sense of it from my own viewing. And I was just like, wow, that's pretty powerful stuff for such a small, independent, experimental film.
The only other thing that I guess really threw me off was, and I'm glad they cut them out. You find out in the documentary they cut this down quite a bit, was the shots of the men on video watching, the random shots of the people watching. I just thought it wasn't necessary.
I don't remember that.
I'm confused. I didn't watch the whole documentary. I was listening.
No, but not in the documentary just showed that they cut them down substantially. But in the actual movie, in the actual Flowers movie, some of the imagery of the video that you've seen on TV is men staring back, like a group of men staring back and looking at the screen.
Uh-huh.
I just didn't think it was necessary. I don't know what the connection is. I could draw I didn't draw any symbolism or connection to any of that.
I don't know. I guess maybe we're seeing it through their eyes. We're watching along with them. Maybe it was what he was going for.
Was this through the killer's stamp? Was this through the killer's viewpoint, or other random men?
There's some other random men. They're intercut in between. It's like a group of 4 or 5 men that are watching, and they're only shown through the black and white or overexposed video footage.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't remember that.
That was the only thing I'm like, what is he trying to get at there? And I couldn't really draw anything from it. So upon rewatch, that's what I'm going to be looking for and figuring out what does that mean. Dave, you could be right. Like, are they representing that, like us, the viewer, we're sitting here watching it and they're kind of just like, but within the context of the film, I don't know what.
It's unnecessary.
Yeah, that's what I took. I was like, I could have done without that. Just upon reflection of the film.
Yeah, I don't remember it either. For some reason.
I just remember the good visuals. I remember needles and skeletons and
and
they all going through a foot and digging out their insides and being hollowed out, and just I remember that stuff with each girl, and
the gore,
and that food scene,
trying to eat.
The dining room food. I was actually eating while I was watching. I was getting.
So was I.
I was getting nauseous.
I can't believe. Same here.
Were you getting nauseous?
Oh, I was like, why am I eating? This is disgusting.
Exactly.
Fat fucks, you're always eating. What do you mean?
You fat fucks.
But that usually doesn't happen.
You had the big fucking pizza right before the show.
It usually doesn't happen to me though. Where you get
that scene was nasty.
Turned off. It was very nasty, and I'm like, I gotta stop eating. I'm getting nauseous actually watching this.
Yeah, it turned me. I had to put the maggots away. I just couldn't eat another one.
You were eating rice?
Yeah.
Fucking lost boys over here.
Right?
How are those worms?
Exactly. How was that rice, Christian? This is the movie that I think we can probably all safely say we recommend people watch, right?
I highly recommend it. I'm telling you, I would never, ever, if you told me the description of this film, I would probably say, no, I'm never going to watch a film like this. But man, it's really, really well done.
It's well done, but it's not going to be for everybody. I even was I was really concerned I wasn't going to like it. But after 10 minutes, I'm like, this is very intriguing. But then I'm like, man, how are they going to keep my interest with no dialogue and nothing else for the full hour and 20? They did, but I did have a quibble that it was a little too long. But it's a minor quibble.
And yep. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I felt like it's hard to complain that the movie is long when it's, I mean, what is this, like a 70-minute film? This is really a short film.
Yeah, it's not long.
So there's really, I mean, you're talking about cutting it under an hour.
But it's because of the style, because it is a lot of dragging themselves through these claustrophobic little crawl spaces through gore and whatever, and it keeps going and going and going. I could see people not being into it. I really can. Was like I said, I was worried I wasn't going to be into it. I went through it, but once again, because of the experimental presentation, 75 minutes might be on the long side.
Yeah.
It's a short film, really. That was 75 minutes long.
Yeah. Yes. All right. I wanted to look it up because for the longest time it was hard to get a hold of. So I wanted to let the listeners know. I know you can buy the DVD.
Oh, it had super expensive editions when it first came out, like 3-disc editions and stuff like that.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep. You can buy this movie. Is this the same one? Colette McKenna, Anastasia Blue? Because there's a couple movies called Flowers. So.
What were the names you just said? I'm sorry.
I said director Phil Stevens.
Colette Kenny. Okay. Yeah.
You can get this for around $11 on Barnes and Noble. So I think you can go online and buy the DVD. You can rent it for I think like $4 on YouTube and on like Google Play. So
yeah, I definitely recommend it, at least renting it to check it out because it's really an experience, and I think they're trying to fund a sequel.
Nice.
Well, he did Lung 2, did he not?
Yes, he did Lung 2 also. I haven't seen that. But,
Lung 2?
Lung 2.
Lung 2.
2.
Yeah.
What's Lung 1?
I guess it's like Zombie 2. It's also Lung. Lung is also Lung 2.
Lung 2. I never heard of that.
Except it doesn't have a guy fighting a shark. It has super smart dolphins in it. So you'll love it.
Oh man. Yeah, Lung 2, horror mystery thriller. Interesting. But there's no Lung 1? Wow.
No.
Interesting. Okay, well hey. I guess we should rate this, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I'll tell you what. I'm starting off the show with another of the same rating, 8.5.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I meant 7.5.
I'm right there with you, Dave. 8.5. Nice.
All right. Flowers. So far, in my opinion, 2 for 2, Derek B. Okay. Now what are we getting into next? We got another Fulci. What are we gonna do?
Let's do 1980s Contraband.
Aha. See, this is perfect. This is the order in which I watched them. And, okay, go ahead.
Also called The Smuggler. Cigarette smugglers in Naples run into problems with cocaine operations being set up by a rival smuggler.
Okay.
So, Dave, why did you have... Okay, yeah, go ahead.
No clue. After 5 minutes, there was people on a boat, and then all of a sudden 8 more people came on a boat. They were showing both sides. I didn't know who was the good guys. I didn't know who was the bad guys, and I checked out like I do in action movies. That's just what I do. That's just me.
This movie's fantastic.
Yeah.
This movie's fantastic.
And Dave, don't get me wrong. I hate the fact Lucio Fulci has a very lucid way of making his movies. And
that's for sure.
And this one, I agree, because you just get slammed into this boat thing, and then it jumps scene to scene to scene. So I could see that. But the characters are great. The violence is amped up. This kind of reminded me, I thought that like Martin Scorsese and like Tarantino kind of ripped a page out of their like filmography from this film almost.
Yes.
Speaking of Tarantino, there was a character in this movie called Tarantino.
Yeah, the one good guy, the police officer was Captain Tarantino or whatever, Chief Tarantino. But Luca's our main guy here. Yeah. And all these guys they're showing are bad in the sense that they're contraband smugglers. But it's not until the main bad guy shows up and starts killing off each of like the crime bosses. This what's his name? Marsiglius. This guy starts killing everyone off to take over all the operations and run cocaine. That he's really becomes the true bad guy.
I was just thinking it was a revenge story because the one guy killed his brother, and then he just said, I'm going to go and avenge his death.
He went to get revenge on the one guy who he thought it was, that Scarino guy, but it turns out that Scarino wasn't behind it, and he tells him he wasn't behind it. He even spares his life. He has his henchmen beat the crap out of him, but they spare his life, and from there it's, figuring out that it was this other guy and his group, and the reason why they're killing everyone off and building from there. And the violence in this is just insane.
Yeah, it's super cool, but it does jump around, Dave. I'll give you that. I love that one scene where the cops are busting everybody in the town, and everybody's smuggling cigarettes. Everybody's smuggling cigarettes, and they pull that one guy out that's eating spaghetti. And he won't even put down his plate of spaghetti. He's still eating the goddamn spaghetti as they're busting him out of the place. I lost my fucking mind there, and I lost my mind where there's that one Italian guy. They're all saying goodbyes or whatever, and they give each other the kisses on the cheek. But it's really creepily done because he kisses on one side, kisses on the other, and he's like, "Meet me at my house later." I lost my mind.
That honestly hurts these films sometimes. The dubbing.
Yes.
Because these are really well made. This is a really well made film, but the dubbing sometimes makes it seem silly. But for me, the funniest line was when towards the end when Fabio Testi's character, who plays Luca, who's phenomenal in this, and we'll get into 4 of the Apocalypse later. But when he goes to see the doctor to get stitched up, and the doctor's like shaking him down for money. And he's like, "You son of a bitch." He's like, "I'm very happy you've met my mother,
Yes.
but I'm still gonna need that money." I was like, "That's hilarious."
Yes, that was great. Yeah.
And Lucio Fulci was one of the henchmen at the end, just shooting up bad guys.
Really?
Yeah. He popped up from behind a car and he's blowing people away. I'm like, that's Fulci.
Wow. That's cool. Wow. I'll tell you what, that one corpse looked just like a zombie from from Zombie 2. Or pardon me, not Zombie 2, it's Dawn. But this Fulci zombie.
The one that he drowned in the sulfur pits.
The one that was in that guy's house for some reason, and he showed it to him, and you would think that it looked a lot better because it would have been more fresh. But look, it had been dead for months. It was weird.
That was because he got killed and fell into the sulfur pits, and he kind of like boiled in there.
Oh, okay. See, I couldn't follow it. What you said, Grimsby, about about the first Fulci movie with the not being able to follow along and the dialogue and too much slow time and this and that. That was my experience with this. It was too much downtime for me, too much dialogue that I really wasn't. I checked out. I just wanted to see more kills.
If you check out on this, you got to pay attention to, like, I was paying attention to like every name because it's one of those films where there are a ton of characters. And I was into it. I was just like, okay, that's Scarino. He's the bad guy who Luca suspects killed his brother. Wait, what's the brother's name? Let me write down the brother's name. The brother was Mickey.
It's way more convoluted. That's why you checked that. It reminded me of The Departed. Scorsese's The Departed. I don't know why that was the film that I thought of, which I know was a remake of Infernal Affairs or whatever it may be. But that's what lots of characters, a lot of back and forth, backstabbing, this, that, and the other thing. Pretty much you're focusing on mostly bad guys. And like it was definitely a ride. I enjoyed it. I'm not saying it was fantastic, but it was definitely a lot of fun.
They even taken page out of The Godfather here with the brothers killing, at the police roadblock.
Oh, that was great.
It was a great scene, I'll admit, though, but I was laughing my ass off because, just the way they act when they get shot like 80 times. And then when he's falling off the cliff, I'm laughing my ass off.
Because it's like Fulci decided to shoot that from every possible angle and use every angle in the edit.
You gotta literally show him falling down the cliff, landing, rolling into the water. I'm like, this is hilarious and awesome at the same time. And it's just, I don't know, it never let up. It was brutal.
Yeah, that burning scene was great. That's for sure.
That was brutal. But like, just when you think a guy can't be any more despicable, he decides to blowtorch a girl's face off.
And Jeremy was in this.
Really?
Yeah, he played a character named Alfredo who just did not want to sleep with that girl. No, do not touch me. I do not want to do this. No, I'm scared. Just leave me be.
And then they jumped out on that mattress, which blows up. That wasn't really filmed well. I thought a car came blasting through those doors because they didn't really show them hit the bed and it explode. They show them kind of go into the room, and then all of a sudden the doors just got flying off the hinges, and you only find out later that the mattress was a bomb.
Yeah, it could have been shot better, but it was effective in terms of showing it that it was meant for the other guy. But I knew very early on. I saw that twist coming. That was not a twist to me. I was like, this guy's no damn good. He's in on this, no matter what. He knew not to be in that bed because he even references at the end. He's like, I sacrificed Alfredo. He was a good guy, but that was Jeremy. No, do not do this. Why? Take off his pants.
Awesome.
No, don't take off my pants. No.
Actually, they were all in the room with the girls. Yeah, that was freaking.
I thought he had a dick like the guy from Flowers or something like that.
Maybe that's why. Yeah. Oh man! How about go Bijou? Bijou, remember that? That was good stuff. And I flashed back to The Sopranos because there was the fire and they showed the horse and then nothing happened. I thought it was going to be another Pie-O-My situation like in The Sopranos, but they showed burning going on and they showed a horse and then they just kind of cut away and that was the end of it. I was like, what the hell is happening here? And they cut away and then I don't know what happened. Next thing I know, there's a funeral in the bay and you see the Capos and Luca And yeah, I don't know.
Well, why is it anytime Luca decides to start running anywhere, that music kicks in? It was like the same music. He just started running. Sometimes he just ran from like one room to another, and that music would kick in for it.
Yeah, right. Fabio Frizzi too.
Yeah, Fabio Frizzi did this and For the Apocalypse.
Yeah, man. Yeah. See, at least that's what Fulci did. He kept the Italian style soundtrack and the Italian style gore, even though these aren't horror movies. And I have to respect that. I thought that when I first saw this, and the idea of these movies, and one's like a Western and one's like a fantasy and one's like this crime drama, I'm thinking, well, I hope these aren't going to be boring. They were still very Italian, and they were still very Fulci, is what I should say.
Yes. They certainly had his touch, despite being completely out of the genre that he's so well known for.
Yeah, I have to appreciate that about it.
See, and I got done watching this, and I was like you with Conquest. I'm like, man, he should have made more of these crime thrillers, and crime thrillers are not my thing. I'm not a huge mafia film fan. I've seen them all, and they're amazing. I mean, The Godfathers are amazing films. Goodfellas are amazing films. They're not the films I go back to and watch over and over. But I watched this, and I'm like, man, I wish he had made more of these. Wow,
interesting. See, I'm comparing it to all my favorite mob movies and stuff like that. That's what I'm doing. I'm thinking about The Sopranos. I'm thinking about The Godfather. I'm thinking about these things. They pop in my head for certain things for whatever reason throughout the film. But those to me are on a whole other level. But this is like it's like an Italian, almost, I don't want to say a giallo, but I don't know. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the giallo with the acting and the way the people look. And sometimes when there's too much story that isn't necessary, I'm not talking about giallos. I'm talking about others that I've seen that I just kind of sometimes check out of. That's what I get here. But it's not bad by any means.
I think it's fantastic. You got to remember, this is low budget too. They actually had real contraband smugglers contribute to this project because they ran out of budget very quickly on this. So there were real smugglers contributing money to it, and they also contributed to the title change and to the whole project. So even though it's a compliment comparing it to those other great films, like, they certainly did not have the budget that those had, and certainly the dubbing doesn't really reflect the type of performances that I think are in this film, because I think the performances are good, but sometimes it's silly, like the guy kissing, and sounding all creepy. It just doesn't play as well. Yeah, just the dubbing voice.
That's where we differ. I like that. That's the charm of the Italian movies to me. I like that dubbing, and I like how the acting comes out.
But you don't take it as seriously as you do like a Goodfellas, when you really, like, I'm not saying it's as good as Goodfellas, but I'm just saying, like, there's really nothing that different about these films from the American ones, except for the dubbing, where it just sometimes doesn't match up, or the tone of the dialogue doesn't match up with the tone of the scene.
Well, sure, but I mean, Deep Red is dubbed, and I think that's a great movie. I'm not saying it's The Godfather, but it's a great giallo, and they dub in that movie. What about Suspiria? You know how I feel about that.
But giallos do that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is Italian, and it's a mystery, and it's, well, not a mystery per se, but it's a crime thriller. I don't know. It's not a giallo, but it's the closest thing to a giallo because it's Italian and the way it's presented. To me, that's what it reminds me of, but just not. I don't know. It doesn't. To me, that doesn't hurt it. Like, if I would have loved everything about this movie and it was paced a different way, and I could follow along the way I would have liked to, it wouldn't have bothered me that the dubbing was that way. In fact, like I said, it might have added to the charm a little bit. I don't know, but that's just me.
I'm the opposite. That's the only thing I could see being wrong with it, because I see it as just as good a film as some of these classic crime thrillers that were made, during this time in the U.S., except that the tone of the dialogue, because of the voices, isn't matching up with, the tone that, like, a De Niro or a, Pacino or,
but that's foreign films. But that's foreign films.
And it's true. And I kind of side in the middle, depending on the movie. Either subtitles are usually the way we would go, but there is a bit of a charm here, and so I can agree with Dave a little bit too. I'm not saying the movie is ruined because of that I laughed my head off when that guy did the kissing and said, "Meet me at my house later tonight," or whatever. It is the charm. It's funny.
I don't listen to Brandon. He's over there breathing through his belly button.
Well, I'm practically breathing through my belly button right now too. Does Fabio Tessi not look like Sean Connery to me? To me it does. I don't know if you got that too. He just reminded me of a Sean Connery type.
I don't know.
Guess not.
He's a handsome man though.
He's okay with me. No, I didn't get Sean Connery. I would.
I didn't get Sean Connery either. I was just like, man, this is a nice looking Italian man.
No, I did get the Mannicarinos in the beginning though. Did you see those?
Yeah. Well, now they were supposed to be Mannicarinos, right?
Right, I know. Yeah.
No, but they are right. Like they and then
in the plot they are. Yes.
But he guns them down again anyway.
Yes, for fun. Yeah, that was good. He got pissed off because he got tricked by him. You know. But that part was great because at first when it happened, I thought it was another Mannicarina situation when they were going to try to play it off as, being dead bodies. It was like, oh, these are rubber dummies, the guy called them.
That was a great decoy. That was a great decoy that they had set up for getting away. And then go ahead.
No, the next scene they go to a random disco. I was like, what are we watching? All of a sudden they go into some freaking disco and they're dancing, and you see these guys with suits on. And then you see the girls dressed completely different, freaking half naked.
Yeah, you see her topless. You see Bush.
Yes.
I'm like, what is she? She's not wearing anything. She's on the dance floor.
It was like the prom night scene where out of nowhere
It was.
Go to the disco. I was like, what the hell am I?
They love disco in Italy.
I guess so.
But he was meeting with the other boss, with his boss Perlanti, and I knew right from that scene I was like, this guy's no damn good. And man, his death scene. When his throat gets shot out, absolutely awesome.
Yes, sir. Yes,
absolutely awesome. I loved it. And then, of course, the one scene towards the end when the ambush happens, when they take down the bad guys, and Fulci pops out at that scene. But the guy in the newspaper stand, he flips up the metal door, and he shoots that guy in the gut, and his guts are falling out. Oh my God.
Oh,
man, just great violence.
Yeah. How about that one death? Was it a screwdriver that he was stabbing him with? Remember when he was stabbing him? What the hell was he stabbing him with? And then he ended up falling off the freaking. Remember? He said it was the first guy that he got. He thought he killed his brother, and he stabbed him with the thing. He stuck it. I thought it was a screwdriver, but I blinked, and it might not have been. And he was digging it around in his freaking his chest area.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's trying to stab it into his heart. Yeah.
What was that? Was that a screwdriver or was it some weird looking knife?
I'm not sure what it was. Looked like some sort of screw or something.
A screw? Yeah, a little screw.
He had a screw loose. He was trying to put it back in.
A screwdriver, I'll give you, not a screw. Imagine that. It's just a freaking
It wasn't a screwdriver. It looked like a long metal screw that he was just trying to dig in. Like a nail.
Yeah, like a if you had something to measure food with, like a turkey thermometer, but
that's what it was. It was a turkey thermometer. He was trying to impregnate him, like in
Don't Breathe.
Don't Breathe.
Okay, not turkey baster, not a thermometer. Okay, I have never seen Thanksgiving, but did somebody attempt to kill him, or did he attempt to kill somebody with a turkey thermometer? I'm asking a serious question.
I never saw Thanksgiving.
See? Did you see it?
No.
Well, if they didn't do that, shame on them. That's a big missed opportunity. But I digress. I don't know. What else do we have about this film?
The serious parts were really quite unsettling, especially towards the end when he gets the phone call and he has to listen to what's going on with his wife. And, the way the scene with his son, the way he disappears his son with the carousel. And then
that was good. Well done.
That was really cool, really well done. And that's moments like that. It's like, okay, this is a serious film. Yeah, we laugh at some of these parts, but man, this was a really well-made film. I'm shocked at how much I like this.
Nice,
totally shocked.
I was too.
This was my least anticipated of the three Fulcis.
And there's a little bit more comedy when at the end with the big shootout, those guys are popping out of every which way. Like that one guy, you'll open up that little newsstand, shot people, and then close the newsstand. I thought that was
great. That's the scene I was talking about where he blew the guy's guts out. I love that. I love that.
It just gets amped up. You guys were talking about something, and then you get one on, and I forgot what I was going to say now. Shit.
We were talking about the turkey baster and
Yeah, I think it was
the guy being stabbed with a screw or a screwdriver. What else? What else was he saying? Talking about the kid in the carousel.
It was before all that, but it's fine. It's obviously not that important. Yeah,
coming from you, no.
Yeah, that's fine.
I even like the way it ends, where these films, like, they don't have like a conclusive ending. Yeah, that story's ending, but like everything just continues on. Like the last scene is just like this head mafia boss getting into a car and just driving off, and it's like it's almost left ambiguous what happened to Luca's character. I mean, he's alive, but is he in hiding from the police? Is he with his wife and his kid again? Like, what's going on? Like, you don't really know.
What about all that screaming towards the end? That was some serious freaking screaming going on.
Oh, man. Brutal scene.
Wow.
Brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. That was serious. It was almost like the ending of freaking Tenebrae, with the screaming.
Love it.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. What do you got, C? Did you remember what you had?
No, I can't remember. For the life of me.
You got a sick brain, poor guy. What are you going to do?
He's got a case of them bad legs.
He's got a case of them bad brains. That's a band, Bad Brains. Nice. Well, should we rate this sucker?
Do it. I'll go first. I'm really high on this. I loved it. 9 out of 10.
Holy shit, you loved it.
I really did. This was fantastic.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what. You talked me up a little bit. Enough that I would give it another chance. Maybe the mood will strike me better on another view, and maybe it just wasn't happening for me that day, and I checked out too early, and it just kind of screwed with the experience. So I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to come up a little bit. I was at a 6. I'm going to come up to a 6.5.
Oh, cool.
Fair.
And I'm at 7.5.
This guy.
Nice.
Fucking Switzerland over here.
What?
7.5. 7.5. I agree with both of you.
Was he 7.5 all night? Am I right?
I feel like he's been 7.5.
No, Flowers was 7.5. This was 7.5. Conquest was 6, you fucking skunks.
There he is. He's back.
He's back. Good brain. All
Took
right.
you pissing me off to come back.
All right, let me read a couple questions here, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll finish up. Let's see. Wow, somebody said a bad word. Oh, okay, that was the wrong thing. Okay.
Be in the 22 shots page.
Just
kidding.
No, you're
wow! Now the questions are flying in, so they might not be serious anymore. Here, this is a fun one. If you could erase only one decade from horror, from the 1960s till present, which one would you erase?
It's got to be the 1990s because...
No question.
Yeah, it just, out of the options I've got, I want to keep the 60s, I want to keep the 70s, I want to keep the 80s. Got to keep the 2000s and the 2010s, obviously.
I like how he explained the reason why he's eliminating the 90s is because he wants to keep every other decade.
It's
I fucking
true,
hate
though.
it.
No, I totally agree with him, but
I know. I mean, there was no real reason for my follow-up there, to be
I
honest.
loved it,
but...
though.
I have a reason.
It's clearly the 90s.
Yeah. Did you have a reason? Or no?
It's
You don't need
gonna,
one, I
yeah,
understand.
No, there's
don't
just,
need one.
I mean, all the huge classics, my favorite films of all time, stem from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and from, the 2000 plus era. When I think of the 90s, I think of films, like Candyman, like Scream, and I love those films. I'm high on them.
Silence of the Lambs, yeah.
Yeah, Silence of the Lambs, I always talk, is one of my favorite horror films, if people count it as horror, if not my favorite. And but still, if you got rid of those, you're still left with just an overwhelming choice of classic movies, where if you got rid of any one of the other decades, you'd lose out on a lot.
Yes, there's just not as much. A lot of the beginning of it sucks, except for a few gems, and then Scream came along, and then after Scream, not really. And then Blair Witch maybe later. No. And I'm going to be doing the 90s series with Podcasts Under the Stairs, and I'll be talking about some more. I'm going to be doing 96 and 97. I'll be watching some of those movies, and I'll be at the round table at the end. So 90s horror is going to be, I'm going to be seeing more of it in the very near future. But I have to get rid of it. Oh, for fun, this is from Jill. Which film title best describes your sex lives? Interesting.
Huh.
Yeah.
Less than zero?
Wow. Nice. Nice. Is this Brandon or Jeremy over here?
That's not a size reference. That's a.
I know that. You're okay. Best describes my sex life, huh? Let me look around here. Clash of the Titans.
What were you looking at? Do you have a Clash of the Titans poster?
Blu-rays.
I thought for sure he'd go Scream Blackula Scream.
Nice. Brilliant.
Mine's not even a film title. Mine's a TV title. This is Married with Children.
His sex life. All right.
Jesus.
I can dig it.
Yeah.
I can dig it.
Okay.
All right.
House of
What
a
horror
Thousand
film do you
Corpses.
throw on for a boys? House of a Thousand Corpses.
That's a great answer.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What horror film do you throw on for a boys' night in for people who don't watch horror? What? A boys' night in, a horror film for people who don't watch horror. I don't even know if I could answer that. If
You know
don't
what?
watch
I'll answer one I recently watched with a buddy of mine who likes some of the horror films that I've shown him. I've shown him only ones that are rated super high. He has not been a huge lover of Tenebrae. He liked Deep Red. He did not like Trick or Treat at all.
Wow.
But he absolutely loves like films like The Thing. That's certainly one of my choices. And the other one, a film I showed him recently that he was blown away by, VHS 2. Good
Wow.
film to throw on.
Wow. Interesting. I like what you said about what'd you say before VHS? The Thing. The Thing
Thing.
would definitely
Yeah.
work, I think, to show. Because you don't want to show them like a slasher. It just wouldn't work, and
Well, and it's funny
too
that
heavy.
you want to almost go the classy route to say like, I know horror gets a bad rap. Check this out, because if you throw on Friday the 13th, they might just be like, well, this reinforces everything I heard about it. I'm just
Right.
generally speaking, of course, because so I agree. The Thing would be a great example. Maybe Rosemary's Baby, unless they don't like older films.
Good answer though. Rosemary's Baby that's a good one. I don't know. I don't even know what I would throw on just for someone that doesn't watch horror normally. I don't know. Maybe From Dusk Till Dawn.
I can't believe I was thinking that. That's awesome.
Really?
I really was. I was gonna say that.
Yeah, that might work. Maybe The Craft. I don't know. That's what I could go with. I
Said
guess.
boys' night in, not girls' night in.
You mother.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I love The Craft. You know I love The Craft.
All right. And we'll stop.
All
We'll
right,
end
all
it right
right.
now. We'll stop. We'll do this one more from Watson, just because it's Watson. All right. Did Christian and Brandon get jealous as hell when Dave Z started a new show with Watson from Horror Corridor?
I already answered.
Christian answered. He did. He said yes. You already answered.
I'm more offended by the anti-Jewish propaganda in the title.
I don't know what you're talking about. I love Jews.
I love Jew, you
Especially
Jew.
Jew.
Especially Jew, you Jewy Jew.
Okay, serious question. Is there a horror film that you rate highly but really have no desire to rewatch?
Funny Games and Eden Lake.
That's
Two
fair.
films that are terrific. I'll probably never watch again, unless I have to review them.
Man, I don't know. I don't think I can answer that. I think I would rewatch everything, even
Those are
then
the
I
only
already have.
two. I can't watch them. They're exhausting mentally to watch. They really upset me that much.
Damn, I don't think I have a movie like that.
Really?
See?
That you love, eh? That's the kicker, that we had to love it.
You rated high at least.
Rated high, but you're not going to watch it again.
Yeah, I don't know if I have one of those either.
Yeah. Like I'm not in a real rush to watch Irreversible again, but I think I will just for the gimmick of it being irreversible. Just of the, you know what I mean?
That's another good choice because it's such a fantastic film, but it's not an easy watch.
No, it's not, particularly for one scene.
Yeah.
But
Megan
still.
is missing.
Oh, Megan is. You rated high, huh?
I was really enjoyable, but I was like, you're like, everybody should show their kids this movie. I'd be like, I don't know if I could. I think it would just scar
Right.
my.
I know. Maybe like an edited version of it. I think.
I'm surprised at some of the hate for that film because I feel like that's. I'm not judging it. Of course, you're allowed to dislike it. I'm just surprised because I find it to be a very good film and a very tough film to watch as well.
Yes, it is. I don't know. It's weird though. I like to revisit that one. I've seen it like 4 times.
Yeah, it's weird. A lot of people reference The Girl Next Door as well, and
Oof.
even though that's extremely disturbing, I would watch that one again. I'd rewatch all of them again. I always go back to Funny Games and Eden Lake only because they present themselves as films that are heading in one direction, and then you're just gut punched, at the end. Whereas some of these other films that we're talking about, you get a sense of dread from the very beginning, so you're almost sort of anticipating it. Red, White, and Blue is another one.
Oh,
that's a really good film. That's really tough to watch.
I haven't seen it.
You should see it. It's a terrific film. Not an easy watch.
I'll get to it. There's some disturbing films that I know are disturbing that I haven't watched yet. That's one of them. That we need to talk about. Kevin is another one. I've never seen that, but I've heard it's disturbing.
Film.
Yeah, it's a good film. It's good. I don't find it as disturbing as some of those.
It's upsetting. I don't know if it's disturbing.
Yeah, and you know me, I like to watch things a second time anyway. So even if I watch something and I rated it high and it was disturbing, I still want to give it that second view. Like the famous movie, what's that freaking movie? Serbian film. I saw it once, thought it was much better than I was anticipating. It was so well made. I was like, wow, this is not what I was thinking it was going to be. And knowing what I know now, I'd like to go back and watch it again because it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Well, that's the thing. It's too well made for it to be shocking, to be on the level of disturbing that some of these other films are. I mean, it probably has maybe the most shocking stuff in it, but it's just so well made that you can tell this is just, a fictional story.
Right, and the thing that I was supposed to be so turned off to was almost like a non-entity. Like they didn't even show it happen, and it looked so fake that it did nothing for me.
Yeah, they show it for like 3 seconds in the uncut version, if that, and it's completely unnecessary.
Okay.
Even it's almost more disturbing just the implication of it rather than seeing it, because like you said, it does look fake.
The implication is disturbing, but I already knew what it was going in. So when I saw that happen, I was like, okay, here we go. And I'm sitting there almost getting ready to squirm in my seat. And then I'm like, okay, that's a fake looking thing.
Pull your pants back up.
I hate that film.
And we don't. You hate it, huh?
Yeah, I just think it. I think it's. I understand what the director has argued about. It was, what they're going through and the censorship of the country and this, that, and the other thing. But I think the film itself is just shock for shock's sake. I have not listened to Watson's dissertation on it though.
Oh, maybe that'll help you. Who knows? I was okay with it. Like I said, I saw it once. It was better made than I thought it was going to be. So that immediately impressed me. And then I saw what I saw. The ending was the thing that really got me. Man, oof, yeah.
Brutal.
For sure. For sure it is. But I mean, I don't know. I would watch it again. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to purchase it or anything like that. Okay. What do you guys want to do? Take a quick break, come back and do a couple more and get out of here?
Sure. Sounds good.
Okay. See you guys in 2 and 2. We're back. Let's do this. We're going to try to not be on too much longer. Christian is under the weather. I'm tired. He's tired. Brandon, are you tired?
He took a nighttime suppository, and now his ass is falling asleep.
Which was just an ice cube in the butt. I like the cool sensation of ice.
Okay, let's talk about The Cell. No,
The Cell?
Yeah, The Cell. That's what it's called. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, The Cell from 2000. An FBI agent persuades a social worker who is adept with a new experimental technology to enter the mind of a comatose serial killer in order to learn where he has hidden his latest kidnap victim.
I saw this in the theater with my wife when we were just dating, and it was when I came out of that theater, I'm like, that was great. I love the fact that it was like kind of an open canvas. It's funny because we're talking about flowers and the nightmarish imagery there. And here we have like a Hollywood kind of nightmarish imagery here. This one doesn't quite hold up as well. And I'm not just talking about from the CGI morphine effects. I'm talking about this one. I don't want to use the pretentious word, but this one leads into areas that I don't quite necessarily 100% agree with the vision. But overall, I still thoroughly enjoy this movie.
I was the complete opposite. When I have vague memories, but I'm pretty sure I saw it in the theaters in 2000. That was the only other time I saw it, and I was bored out of my mind.
Wow.
Bored out of my mind. And watching it this time, I'm saying to myself, I'm saying, what the hell is wrong with me? I should have enjoyed every second of this when it was on the big screen because this is fantastic.
Yeah, like there's some of the imagery. Oh wow, Dave, what? That man threw me off there for a second. Go ahead.
No. The man was more for the boy. It was kind of both. Okay. No. Me saying man was for two reasons. Bored out of my mind is a strong statement, and fantastic is a strong statement. That's all. But it was more for bored out of my mind. I was like, wow.
Well, I was 20 when this came out. I was bored.
You could bored looking at Jennifer Lopez. I could just watch this movie with the sound off just to watch how good she looked in this film and been okay with that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we had the Vince Vaughn Nation.
Yeah, we had VVN represent. Wow.
And the Vince D'Onofrio Nation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Double Vinces for everyone.
Double Vinces. No, better than man.
That's what I got the other night.
Terrific cast in this film. A lot of recognizable names, really good performances. And this director, he didn't do a lot of horror films. I think this was the only horror film he did, and he did a film called The Fall, like about 6 years later after this, which is the only other film by him that I saw, but had a very similar visual aesthetic that I really like. And I mean, I didn't have any issues. I mean, I get what you're saying with maybe not holding up as well as, after almost 20 years, but I did think it was pretty beautiful to look at and nightmarish at times. And well,
that's it. But to what means? Whereas Flowers, I feel like there actually could be meaning, there is meaning behind it. I'm not sure there was always meaning behind this, and I know that's. I'm not the director, so I don't know what the intent was, but I feel like it was a blank canvas. I could throw whatever I kind of want on here, and you just have to buy it. But I don't know if everything means something here all the time.
Yeah, I honestly don't know if you could pause every scene where it's a nightmare visual and kind of analyze each individual item in the scene. I think it's more for shock value and just aesthetics. So yeah. I agree with you there. But I did feel, and I know Dave, I think Dave, you like this show, but certain scenes in the nightmares, particularly the one with the horse, reminded me so much of Hannibal when it was on TV.
Yes, especially what happened to the horse in that one scene. It was great, and it was definitely Hannibal did the same thing.
Yeah, with the I was like, wow, this is like visually like what Hannibal felt like at times, and I was just like, I dig that because that show was fantastic, and so I was really digging a lot of this. But I definitely see what you're saying too, Christian.
I liked being there in that realm. I wish we would have had 50% more in that realm and 50% out of the real world.
Oh, I love the real world
for me.
I love both. And you know what? For such a, let's face it, kind of silly premise, they sold you on it. Yeah, I actually bought it. Like, that's what a good movie, okay, if you're going to give me something silly, make me buy into it. And I bought it. Like, I bought into it.
Face Off.
This had elements of Nightmare on Elm Street, elements of, like, Dreamscape. I mean, it was weird. Like, yeah, it is silly, but, like, I almost watched it and, like, accepted it because we like those other types of films. So it didn't seem like super far-fetched. And I like the idea that, this technology works one way and the big, huge question mark is whether or not to reverse it and to bring these people into her mind, into Jennifer Lopez's character's mind. And that's, the big question with dealing with the patient she's dealing with at the beginning, the kid with schizophrenia, and then with dealing with Carl's character, the serial killer.
Well,
this is kind of like one of those early 90s horror movies, but in 2000. You know what I'm saying? Like those
like Virtuosity or whatever that was called.
Not so much that. I mean, because in this movie they added the trippy visuals and stuff like that, but I'm talking more about those psychological thriller type horror movies when somebody's trying to track down a serial killer in different ways,
Which I loved, to be honest.
I do too. I love them too. But I'm not complaining. I'm not knocking the film. I'm just making the comparison. It's weird that this was made in 2000. It has that feel of an early 90s Catch a Killer type movie.
It does. Right? But it also
Yeah.
has, like I said, I feel like it also has, like that Nightmare on Elm Street '80s feel, and it also has like later Saw feel to it. With the way he's killing his victims, which is absolutely horrifying. The scene where they're watching the video, it's just like really unsettling. And again, the nightmarish visuals that are similar to Hannibal. So I felt like it was a nice mix of a lot of things, and I certainly enjoyed it a lot more this time around. I was pleasantly surprised.
I definitely liked it. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I liked being in that realm, and the story was fine. I was on board with it. Once again, I'm going to repeat myself and say I need to watch this a second time. It's going to be a second view to see what's going to happen with me. It could jump up on the second view, but when it started, I was a little unsure. They're in a desert, and I'm like, what the hell is happening here? And
The music.
I don't know.
The director is Indian, so he
Yeah.
brings kind of like the culture to the film. It was seen like Jennifer Lopez in kind of like the Nundy outfit and everything. I just thought some of that was a little over the top. Some of it.
Yeah, I was having none of that. That's a hard habit to break.
No one's gonna know that one, but
I almost hope I die from this cold.
So do we.
Oh, I hope I do. You'd be like, oh my God.
Oh God,
The
I'll
death
put
curse
that-
continues.
No.
Oh boy. But the trippy visuals are great, and J-Lo in those outfits, I don't know. I kind of liked it. I kind of liked all that whacked out stuff. And when she later on, when she's all in red with the lipstick on and all that, and
See, I felt like those rubber suits and stuff were a little ridiculous, but
Yes, they were.
I like the concept behind the technology, so I was on board with it. But I felt like some of the costuming was just a little too elaborate at times. But
it was.
it didn't affect the story, so I didn't care.
It was nice and colorful, though. I dig that stuff.
It was, and that's the style of this director, and I can only compare it to the one other film of his that I saw, but that was the style that's visually very colorful and dreamlike and almost grandiose type.
The only other one I saw was The Immortals, and that wasn't without its charm, but again, a lot of style over substance. And I'm not saying this one's style over substance, because I actually like the substance of this movie. The Immortals was a little bit more flaky, if I going by memory, because I only saw it once. There is a great shot of Jennifer Aniston. Jennifer Lopez's
Don't
ass.
you dare!
Jennifer Lopez's ass
By
in
the
this movie.
fridge when she's by the fridge smoking.
Yeah, or so.
Boom.
Yeah. There,
I just wanted to go to town on that dumper.
usually I don't make comments like that, but I was just like, wow, that is
I'm
better,
glad.
the best visual in the movie.
Yeah, she does look phenomenal. I'll tell you.
She's gorgeous. She's stunning, and she
this
looks
film.
exactly the same 20 years later, which is insane.
She does still look pretty rocking. Yeah.
But one of the cool visuals was when they're she's in Carl's dream world, when she sees his victims and they're almost like these automatons, like these robotic, nightmarish, like doll-like creatures of themselves.
Yeah, the whole doll thing.
Yeah, they were like dolls, but they were also like wind-up dolls. It was like It was very creepy and unsettling, and I was really on board with this.
Yeah, man, and that water torture.
Yeah, and the bleaching of the bodies, like that's where the real life stuff was just as intriguing to me. Like I love that serial killer stuff and how they track him down and how one little lead could possibly, crack the case. So there was a lot of good shit here, and it was like I looked at my IMDb rating from way back in the day, and I had it at an 8, and I don't know if I'm quite at an 8 now, but like I said, it was something about it. Like, sorry, I'm choking on my own rage here. The presentation of the story, the unfolding of the story was very intriguing. I thought they did that part well, because it could easily have been all about I was going to say virtual reality world, but I mean the mind trip shit. And it's not all about that. It's a tool, it's a vessel, it's part of the movie, but it's not all about that. I think they kind of blend the two perfectly.
Yeah, they focused a lot on the characters outside of that nightmarish world as well, and really humanized them rather than just showing, Vince D'Onofrio as this monster. And they did a good job with that, even in the dream world, showing him as a little boy, right before he becomes, what triggers this, this behavior that ultimately leads him down this path.
Yeah, you get a
So
little taste of it,
I
yeah.
like that. Yeah,
And you get
I
the
really enjoyed that.
Sorry, Brad. And you get to see that dog as a pup in the memories.
Yeah.
That's a cute dog. Well, how well
That was-
trained is he? He actually helps with the kidnapping by faking being hit by the car.
Yeah, that was impressive. How did he what did he jump into the car? Like they
I
should have shown
don't
him
know.
actually doing a header into the car. Like, oh, damn it.
He was trained well, though, man. That was good stuff.
That was good for the investigative and police, procedural part of it, connecting, the albino dog hair and the plating from the torture chamber.
That's it,
in his, so they, it was I feel like there was great attention paid to detail with this, and I appreciated that. And the performances, I mean, D'Onofrio, even before this, he's always been a very underrated actor. He's a very, very good actor, and I don't think people appreciate him enough. But and this was just another one of those performances where he's terrific, and Jennifer Lopez is really good as well, and I enjoyed Vince Vaughn too. I mean, Vince Vaughn seems to be like the same character in every movie, but I like him.
No, everybody was good in this.
Yeah.
Everybody was good in this. And like some of the imagery, like I said, I don't know what it means, or if it's just supposed to look super cool. But like where they're in the room where it looks like it's all this big curtain, and he walks out, and the curtain room is attached to the
The
metal
hooks in his back?
metal hooks in his back, and it pulls the
Yeah.
curtains, on sort of unleashing the room, so to speak. That is super cool. Great
is
visual, great idea. But like I said, I don't know if there's any meaning behind it.
Well, I think just a simple connection with that was they talk about the type of schizophrenia he has. I forgot what they called it. I wrote it down. Whelan's infraction. Whelan's infraction, they called it. And they say like one of the things that soothes these type of patients is this idea of floating. So that's why he was hooking himself up to these hooks and getting that sensation of floating. So it was just sort of like this grand nightmarish visual of him, hooked up to this giant room where he's basically floating in.
Yep. Ah, man. That stuff is good.
Oh my God, I got scared. I thought Christian died. He went silent for I was like, oh shit, I killed him.
I just like, you fucking done talking yet?
How about those in...
I am very chatty tonight.
Oh,
I
I'm
like talking.
No.
please, I
We're
love it.
taking turns. Absolutely, like always. How about those intestines? That was some shit with Vince.
Oh,
Great scene.
Dude, yeah.
Just
and
hooks
again,
him up to the thing.
another one of
Right.
those scenes where he has to convince himself that it's not real. Very Nightmare on Elm Street-ish.
Yeah.
I guess because
Yeah,
getting in there,
man.
it fucks with your head and you get lost. Great. And like having a star have a pair of scissors jabbed into his belly, have the killer kind of play around with it and pull out an intestine and then hook it up to this little crazy rotisserie device. It's kind of
Rotisserie.
Yeah.
Nice.
it was really cool.
I will say one thing. I felt like after it builds to its ultimate crescendo and then it resolves itself. It's really well done. And then I felt like there was an extra 3 minutes tacked on that felt very anticlimactic.
I actually said, you know what? I'm very emotionally invested in this. I felt emotional connection to the characters so that when she's sort of baptizing or putting to rest the little boy version of Vincent D'Onofrio, I forgot his character's name, into the water, and they're finding the girl and releasing her from the water and everything. That was such a great build. It was great. And I think they just needed that, the aftermath of finding out that by doing this for the serial killers, she feels that will be the way to connect with this other boy as well.
Oh no, I love all that. I just felt like the final scene of her meeting up with Vince Vaughn again, and the farewells they give to each other just felt anticlimactic and almost didn't make much sense. Like, why did they have to say goodbye to each other?
Yeah,
like clearly there was I mean, I'm not saying they had to fall in love, but clearly there was something building there, and then all of a sudden it just was this goodbye and a hug, and that's it. But everything you mentioned in terms of connecting, the drowning with the finding of the girl was fantastic. That's what I'm talking. Is that huge ultimate finale?
Yeah.
I felt like that's where it like almost should have ended.
Yeah, I could see that. But in a way, I'm kind of glad it ended the way it did because it's not typical.
Yeah, no, I get that, and you know what? But there was nothing like in the story that said it had to be this atypical ending. I didn't want it to necessarily be typical, but it just felt like downbeat almost when it was more of a hopeful film the way it concluded, and ultimately what she learned about herself and what she learned about the technology that she was using and that she was able to reverse it, and that it would help out the little boy in the end.
That's true. They did achieve what they wanted to on a personal level, so it had that going for it. I mean, maybe
just
they didn't
a minor quibble. I mean,
I feel you. Maybe they didn't want it to end too happy because they achieved what they wanted to achieve.
It was just such a massive like roller coaster ride in that final act, and then all of a sudden it's just like goodbye. It's like what?
I don't know. I think that I thought it was fine. I think they needed some sort of bridge to sort of figure out what was happening with them. I thought they did that well with why is she here? That's a little crazy. She's like she's keeping the dog. It's all crazy or whatnot. And then before she goes back into the dream world again to connect with the boy, they needed something in there. I mean, I know where you're going with it, but I actually had no problem with it.
Yeah, that's right. That was before she goes back into the dream world. So it was actually not even the very end. It was like the 3 minutes between the Carl conclusion and the dream sequence. So they needed, I guess, a little transition.
Yeah, before she goes back to the other boy. That was great. It was good.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Exactly,
it was good.
It was great. It was good.
It was great. It was good. It was all right. It was bad. It sucked.
Nice.
I really enjoyed it, man. I'll tell you what. I really this to me is like a new film that I would say like is underrated.
Yeah, I can see that too. You know what? I talked myself back up to. I said I rated it an 8 way back when. I was going to come just a little bit lower, but no, I'm going to stick it at 8.
I'm exactly the same score. Solid 8 out of 10.
Well, I'm at a 7, but I'm anticipating a second view. Right now, awesome. I'll stay with 7. Yeah, not a bad movie. There hasn't been a bad movie tonight. Well, I don't know. You guys maybe thought Conquest was bad.
I don't know. You got me wanting to go back and see it now. I want to see what you saw.
Yeah, hey, maybe this time you will. But now this is going to be the tiebreaker because somebody was really high on Conquest, and then you guys weren't, and then you guys were kind of high on the other one, and I wasn't. Now, what's going to happen when we talk about For the Apocalypse? This is, I'm curious.
What indeed?
Yeah, what indeed? Grimsby.
All right, For the Apocalypse. Directed by Lucio Fulci. 4 petty criminals, 3 men and a woman, wander through the trackless terrain of the Wild West, Utah, and are hounded by a sadistic bandit.
Another movie that kind of took me by surprise. First off, I'll say there was we were talking about Conquest, about them rowing a boat, going here, going there. This movie is literally the trials and tribulations of these 4 people. And you're either along for the ride or you're going to check out real early. I thought it was amazing.
Woohoo! Wow.
Damn.
Wow. I thought you when you were talking about rowing the boat, I thought you were going to talk about the 3 or 4 musical interludes that we had in this movie.
Again, Tarantino, I think, took a page out of this for Django Unchained. I said Tarantino earlier. Tarantino was for this movie. Scorsese was for Contraband. While watching it, that's what I was thinking. And I got a very Django Unchained feeling of like putting Jim Croce's "I Got a Name" while they're driving.
Song.
Yeah, I love that song.
That's a great song.
I got a name. It's Grimsby.
I thought maybe the song here was a little...
the croaking toad.
I've got a name. I thought the song here was maybe a little too literal to what was going on. But
the song was like
cool.
called one of the songs was called Bunny. It's literally singing about Bunny.
But no,
I like the music though.
Again, all the characters are great. Great acting amongst the crew. You're getting introduced to them quite well. There's an opening or a fairly open, pretty much right at the beginning shootout that comes out of nowhere that ends up having these 4 sort of being released, and you're just kind of on their journey for the movie. Like, that's what this movie is.
That was a shocking beginning.
Yeah, it was. I'll
People
tell you
get
what
lynched, like, boom. It's crazy. Did you guys not like this? Like, the cinematography of this was amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Fabio Testi.
I feel like I'm like blowing it. You guys don't seem to be. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know what to expect. I admittedly am not a Western fan. I haven't seen many Westerns in general, and spaghetti Westerns, forget about it. Like, I've seen next to nothing. So I really enjoyed this because it wasn't a traditional quote unquote Western to me.
I'm shocked you love it, but I'm also thrilled you loved it because I absolutely loved it as well.
Nah.
Nice. I thought this was phenomenal. I thought these 4 characters were terrific. I love Lynn Frederick. She was in Vampire Circus, which anyone who listens to the 70s, she's stunning. She was married to Peter Sellers. She died very young, but
I read all about her.
39, right?
She was freaking stunning, and
yes, she was.
The way this film is set up with all the all basically the I don't want to say villains, but all the what's the word I'm looking for? Because it's basically the purity of the town rising up and killing all the outlaws? The gamblers. Yeah, all the outlaws are being killed off at the beginning, and they're the 4 who are ultimately spared by being put in the drunk tank overnight, and then they're sort of like released and just wandering aimlessly, looking for the next town, or looking for a future that they don't know if it even exists for them at this point, because they're just lost and wandering aimlessly. And man, the character development for each of them is really, really well done, and some interesting choices.
Yeah, man. I'll say this. When I began this particular podcast, and prior to this particular podcast, I've said it. People have heard me say that I'm not a fan of Westerns. I never watched any Westerns.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I have watched now 3 horror Westerns, and 4 if I really want to go back to the day and not realizing it, and then a couple other Westerns, and I'm yet to watch one that I haven't enjoyed yet. So maybe there is no. I think C said something about this is not your typical Western. I don't know if there is such thing as a typical Western. Because they're all kind of different, but they're all Westerns. But like, they don't have a setup like I thought. It isn't all just shoot 'em up and horses and cowboys and Indians. It isn't what I imagined. It's stories that are interesting, and it's a lot less action than I anticipated.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's more drama than action. These movies.
Yeah.
That I've encountered.
It certainly can be. Like, if you look at like a classic Western like High Noon, definitely not driven by action and more so by character study and build up. And then you have films like Magnificent Seven, which is or The Wild Bunch, which is more huge shootouts and stuff like that. But again, also great character films. But there's definitely, I don't feel like, I feel like you're right when you say there's no typical setup for it.
No, apparently
or structure.
Not. Right. And this is what I've discovered with all these ones that I've watched. And once again, I enjoyed this. I like
this one. This one mixed them both very well. Great character development. When there was action and violence, it was typical Fulci violence. And I actually read an article where somebody was complaining that some of the gore and the violence detracted from the film. Where I don't necessarily agree with that.
No, but it's not. It's unusual for someone that just watches Westerns to see that, I would think.
Yes,
especially at this time period.
Yes, and particularly with one scene in particular where it almost became horrors when they showed Clem, where Bud took part of Clem's ass out.
That was fucking when they realized that they ate.
They ate his ass.
Yeah.
They ate his ass.
That's how you get pink eye.
Yeah.
That's how you get sweet pea.
He was great in this.
Yeah,
Sleepaway Camp 3. Did you know it was him right away?
Actor that, very young, very
right
young.
away. No, but you told me. I probably would have found out maybe midway through, to be honest. But right away. No, but you said that he was in it. And I was looking for him, and I was like, wait a minute, is that him or is it Charles Manson or who is that guy? You know,
He's another one of those actors who's like been in like 1,000 movies. Really,
Yep.
like a great character actor. Was like I think he was very. I think he was part of like Andy Warhol's gang.
Oh yes, he was. I think we
Was he?
discussed that on.
Did we discuss that on one of the?
Last show or on the Sleepaway show? Probably on the Sleepaway show.
Yeah, but he's always good in everything he shows up in, and
Yeah.
man, they all brought it in this film. And the who's the actor who played Chaco, the bandit? I'm
I
not
don't know,
sure.
but he was good too.
Yeah, Thomas Milian.
And I forgot about Chaco. By the time that's the mark of a good film, where midway through the film you see something very serious take place and somebody swear revenge. Okay, that's a serious plot point in any film, right? By the time we got to the end and everything that happened with childbirth and where the movie went with this couple and everything that happened when they got to the town, I seriously forgot all about the big bad. And when he went back to him, I was like, oh, yeah. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
to me, that's the sign of a good film, where you forget that usually when you're watching a movie like this, especially a Western, which a lot of it is usually about revenge, and you're just like, that's like your main, focus of the film.
Yeah,
I forgot all about it.
Yeah, because
you
you're
know?
usually focused on get to the revenge already. Where here
Right.
you were invested in not only these main four characters, but each of the secondary characters that they met up with. Whether it was the Amish religious people or the townsfolk with all the men who were, at first very much against a woman being in their town and giving birth, but that ultimately gave them hope and brought them like happiness and
That's great. That
yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic stuff.
well, that guy had wanted nothing to do with it, and he ended up being the most emotionally attached to the baby when the baby ends up grabbing his finger and whatever.
Yeah.
And then, it was a great scene. Great
Yeah,
scene.
and
was confusing.
Her death scene her death scene and Clem's death scene, both of them were very emotional.
Yes. I have some confusing things that knocked it down just a bit. Confusing and predictable. Two things happened that I knew were going to happen. So
The baby was born.
One was involving, yes, one involving what happened with the childbirth. I knew it was going to happen as soon as labor began. And earlier on, when we discover there was some ass eating going on here, I didn't know that it was him, and I didn't know that it was his ass, but I did know that they were eating a human. So I figured that out, and I figured the other thing out later. So I ended up dropping it down just a half a point and a little confusion. Like when they first got there, and they said the only women that had been there were whores. And then later on, when the child was born, one of them said something about, I don't know which one of us that child looks like. Were they? Were they trying to say that she had been there as a whore in the past because we knew about her past? Was that what they were trying to say, or is that me reading too deep into it? And why would they say that line?
Yeah, no, I think it was just more of them embracing this child as one of their own. Yeah,
And
she
isn't
was
it
a whore.
weird?
Yeah, she was a whore. I can see.
I was confused too,
Yeah.
Dave. I was wondering, did they see her as a prostitute way back when, or were they just making a general like shitty comment that because she's a whore, I wonder which one she's going to look like or whatever as well.
They didn't know she was a whore. They had no reason to. They would never
Exactly,
have known that because she was
exactly.
masquerading as his wife.
Yeah,
but
true
they
enough.
mentioned earlier, the only woman that have ever been in this town had been a whore when we needed one. So I thought that maybe they put that line in there and then made that comment at the end to tie it together. But I don't know. But then why did it seem
I don't think so.
that he was blown off? He was the father. This was his wife, for what they knew. The information they had was they were a married couple and they're having a baby. So of course it's his child. How come they blew him off like he was inconsequential, and even the doctor who delivered the baby is asking the town to name the baby? What sense would that make?
Well,
if I knocked up somebody and they had a baby, I'm the father of the
he's
baby.
he's like Joseph
Look at me.
he's like Joseph to Jesus.
Apparently, yes, but for no reason.
I think it has more to do with the fact that at this point he's so like almost mentally shattered. I mean, he's pretty much almost gone at this point. Stubby. So actually, them, saying we need to come up with a name brings him back and gives him, that second life, that second wind, if you will, because he immediately comes back and he sees this glimmer of love and hope, and he's like, that's when he decides, like, okay, this baby's gonna have a good life here, better life than with me, and
Sure. I just
so,
watching
don't
it, I didn't get that.
I felt like I understand what you're saying because it did look that way, but I felt like if they had gone the route where he said, "Oh, thank you," and he decided to take his baby, they weren't going to put up a fight. I don't think they were like in this situation where they're like, "This guy's not taking the baby."
Right, but you would think if you if you made a baby with your wife who you love and she dies, you would damn well think, well, hey, this is all I have left. I'm going to be all about this baby. You know what I mean?
But he did what was best for the baby, even though it almost and it was anti what you expect. It was the reverse of what's typical in a film. You expected him to ride off into the sunset with the baby, so that's what I liked even more about this. This went really against what you expect.
I do like that. I did like that, and I liked the characters. I thought it was funny that for some reason they kept calling Bud Butt. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Butt? Why were they calling him Butt? It made no sense.
I
don't know. Maybe it just sounded like that, but I mean it I couldn't hear it, but the way they left him, like that was a cool scene. The way you saw the POV from the different spots he might have been hiding, really well done, and kind of sad because like he was crazy to begin with, but at this point he's fully gone.
But was he crazy? But seriously,
was that JP? Was he that?
Right after I said that, I thought of him. But seriously, yes, he was crazy. But do you think it was all hogwash that he could talk to the dead?
Yep, I think he was off his fucking rocker.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do like how that when they're leaving, they do all those ominous shots that look like he's watching them. I thought that was really, really well done as well when they're leaving the town.
Yeah,
it's great. Some great moments throughout, some horrific moments, and then some absolutely touching moments that you just don't expect, based on the fact that I think all I've known Fulci for is horror films.
Yeah, him skinning that lawman, Chaco skinning that lawman.
Oh, yes.
And of course, seeing all the Amish people who were super nice and talking about their weapons being their prayers, and if they run into trouble, then heaven it is for them. And then seeing kids, the aftermath. Yeah. The dead little girl and all of them all bloodied. It was just
it was
brutal.
Impactful. The dead girl and the doll and all that, and how about Clem in his last freaking wishes? I want you two to go to bed together. 10 hours for an hour. I was thinking, which one of them put him up to this? I think one of them pulled him aside and said, hey, listen, I think she wanted to bang him more than he wanted her. I think she said, okay, listen, if you die, I want you two to go to bed together. So maybe.
Well, you know what? That's interesting you say that.
Promise me.
I actually wrote it down that not only did he say, swear to me you'll get married, but make love 1 to 10 hours. Because it started out as 1 hour. Then he's like, make it 10 hours.
Yes.
But you're right about, I really felt like it was almost more her in love with him than the other way around, because there are particular scenes with Clem dying and also when she dies where, he's clearly emotional both times, but he's not able to admit his feelings. And when she dies, he's not able to say, I love you back, which really bothered me. I got it, but it still bothered me. I wanted him to just say it to her, give her this before she goes, but he didn't say it.
I know.
But I think he did love her in his way.
I think so too. That's what's good about it, though.
Yeah.
Isn't the fact that the revenge part of it almost secondary to the movie? It's almost like in Contraband too. It's just kind of like a tag on at the end. Oh, we'll make sure he gets his revenge too. Sorry,
I forgot.
You're absolutely right. It felt like it was like an afterthought, and it was such a quick scene that it was almost inconsequential because everything you wanted to know about the story had already pretty much concluded at that point. You wanted to see Chaco get his, but it didn't have any effect on you after, because unfortunately the fate of all these characters, played out the way they did already.
That scene where Chaco afterwards, after he thinks he's left him for dead, but then is like hunting them or wondering where they went, and he's with those two other guys back in the desert, and they're just like literally a head turn away from spotting them. Really well done, really suspenseful. And I read, you made a joke about the music. There are a lot of people that say it's absolutely atrocious. And maybe it is, but I actually thought it worked for the movie.
I do too.
I thought it was way ahead of its time, because usually they put like sort of quote unquote period piece music in or whatever. And these are like ballads that definitely were not from 1873 or whenever it was supposed to take place. 93 or whatever.
Low, sweet chariot.
Well, not that. I'm talking about the songs on the soundtrack.
Who wrote Swing Low, Sweet Chariot?
Okay. Please, Cole.
No, but you're right about that scene, and there's one comment that Stubby made after that scene you were talking about, where it was a head turn away when they're looking at the bodies, and he said that they saved us. Why did they do that? Now, was that implying that they knew? That,
No. I know what you're thinking. You're getting confused. He's saying that because they existed, they were spared death because Chaco and the gang killed them instead.
Chaco
and the gang. I think he was Chaco Taco. He was saying he wanted to know why they killed all those people. Because if they just wanted to rob them, fine, rob them. But why massacre all these people, women and children too? That's what I think he was saying. It was like, we were saved because of them, comma, why did they do it? You know what I mean?
That's all I want. That makes perfect sense to me now. I'm glad you cleared that up right away. I understood immediately.
Nice. Want some peyote?
Yeah.
That was great, that scene, man. They're all tripping out, and yeah. And when they first met him, I'm thinking, there's no way they're going to add him to their group because this movie's called For the Apocalypse. So I'm waiting for something to happen. I'm like, it looks like he's part of the group. He's a Deadeye. He's doing this. He's going to get him food. And they seem to be okay. And then all of a sudden, enter the peyote and the plan and,
Unless it was For the Apocalypse and a little lady.
Yeah. Nice.
Christian, are you alive?
I am alive.
Okay, I'm getting worried about you.
Oh, poor
Can't
guy.
breathe, but I'm alive.
Sounds like Saul Rosenberg over there. Oh, my ass.
Clem's ass.
Clem's ass.
We ate it.
Nice. How how does he steal all four horses? You notice that? He had the two in the front, which I understand but the other two were just following him. That was great. He's going to steal 4 horses? I was like, holy cow, this guy. But he did it.
I like the scene where he's just shooting birds and rabbits for what felt like 45 minutes.
It was great. Yeah. I told you I'm a hunter or whatever you say. He's freaking boom, boom, boom.
And Butts running around just picking them up. Ooh, That's a big one. At one point, I think he picked up a duck. I swear, if you go back and watch it, it looked like he picked up a mallard duck. I'm saying to myself, what the hell is a mallard duck doing in the middle of the desert?
Wow. I don't know. I thought I was watching freaking Duck Hunt, that video game,
And the duck.
Yeah.
And then he jumps over the hedge.
Yeah, those are the green-headed ducks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
He did pick up a duck, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Because I remember saying, I love ducks. I wouldn't eat a duck.
I love
eat a duck.
ducks.
Yeah.
I've had duck before. Duck is delicious.
I have had it too. It's good, but I could easily not have it again.
Oh yeah, I mean I could easily not eat it also, but it is delicious.
I'd rather have peyote than duck.
I've never had peyote. I don't think I'd be good on peyote.
I don't think you would either, but I think I might be okay.
I'm too high strung for anything like that.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah.
We should probably rate this, huh?
Yeah, sorry that I've been so quiet. I'm slowly dying here. You'll probably hear the sniffling on the recording, so I apologize to the listeners out there as well. I am an 8.5.
Ooh, wow. Well, I'll tell you, I was at an 8 initially, but I had, like I said earlier, I had to bring it down just a little bit for some things being predictable and some things that I questioned. So It was at a 7.5. I'm going to go up a little because Brandon helped me out a little bit. 7.75.
Nice. Awesome. I'm going to come right in where Christian did, 8.5. Fantastic film. Fulci, man. Fulci's good.
Yeah.
Fulci
this was definitely well directed. I do remember what I wanted to say about the other film now. Funny enough, how my mind works.
Nice.
Because this one was, I thought the cinematography was great, on point. One of the best looking films that I've seen of his, to be quite honest. And from a cinematography standpoint, on Contraband, I thought he pulled a Murville Bava and did a lot of those zoom ins that we said was kind of a staple of some of the Bava films we reviewed a couple of episodes back.
Did you say Bava back?
A couple of episodes
Bava.
back. I don't know. Bava back.
You're right, though. He did. He did do it.
Very.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't mean to make fun of saying you're saying Bava, then you're like,
Bava
we
back.
reviewed back.
Belial.
I did notice in, I think they did it in the second movie, Contraband.
Yeah, that's the one. Contraband was the Bava back. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought he said all three of the movies that were.
No, you said Contraband.
Oh.
How about this is what happens moving forward? This show's canceled. I just joined the WotC party.
What?
I would join, but they don't accept Jews.
Yeah. It's an exclusive club.
This is good. This is good. Well, that's Fulci. Speaking of Fulci, back to these quick questions until Christian says, cut the shit.
Fulci me once, sham on me. Fulci me twice.
Well, this is a question about Fulci. It just so happens that John Weaver here questioned something about Fulci. I didn't even say it was a Fulci show, unless he really knew that's what we were doing, but I don't know. Anyway, he says,
you laid it all out.
Is Fulci really a genius, or do people just love him because he's considered great by people, even though his movies are muddled at best?
I would have agreed with him. Up until seeing these movies, I'm not going to say all the movies that I've watched of his have been muddled, but I do get that muddled feeling from a lot of the movies. I'm very lucid, as I used earlier. But Conquest was probably the most muddled out of all these films. I thought Contraband was maybe more of a convoluted story, but definitely not muddled. And Four of the Apocalypse was not muddled at all. That's my take.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of both. I think there's certainly a handful of films, if not a few more, that are just absolute gems that he's done. So it certainly outweighs some of the more muddled, inconsistent films.
Right. And I don't think he's a genius. I think he's a good director. And I'll leave it at that. That's all I can say. So a lot of the horror is particularly muddled, and that's why I only have him so high. But I do enjoy, most of what I've seen. So
yeah,
that's that. All right. What holiday that doesn't already need one have it? Wait, which holiday that doesn't already have one needs its own slasher movie?
Boxing Day.
Alan Lawrence asked. Is he the one that asked you about Boxing Day?
Yeah, that was the one. It is. It is. It is.
There you go. See, it is Alan. I thought you said that when we were pre-gaming. Correct. Boxing Day. I'll tell you what. I'm going to say it, and I've said it again because it would sell. It's Hanukkah. There's no question Hanukkah needs a freaking killer.
Right.
And don't you think so?
First he starts an anti-Jewish podcast. Now he's stealing my holiday. No, you're absolutely right. Hanukkah really.
We will finish this forever.
I wonder
Hanukkah.
if directors, if filmmakers, if writers have really thought of an idea to do something like this and maybe thought it's just maybe too insensitive. I mean, that's the only thing I could think of. It might just come off as like incredibly prejudiced or
perfect.
Anti-Semitic.
There's the marketing right there.
That is the marketing if you want to go that route, yes, but only if you go about it in a serious tone, I think it'll work. If you make a joke out of it, then it would be anti-Semitic. If you had some stereotypical Jew guy as the killer or as the victims, that's wrong. But I'm taking it as a serious film, a serious slasher, I think would be the way to go, and I think it could be done.
But you still need a menorah kill where you kill like 8 people at once.
No question. You got to put a dreidel down somebody's throat. There's lots of things you got to do, obviously, but do it in a serious manner. I mean, make it like Silent Night, Deadly Night, where you can still have off-the-wall type kills, but have it a serious in-tone film.
That's a great comparison.
Why not do it? Why not do it?
I'm on board. I
All
can't really think of a holiday off the top of my head. Maybe Columbus Day, because Columbus Day is such a, controversial holiday to begin with. Is there any Columbus Day slasher films?
I don't think so. Nope. There should be.
Yeah.
There should be one called Columbus Day, and it would be people kill cows on Columbus Day, or somehow they it gets mixed in something with a cow.
Cow.
Or a guy wears a cow mask on Columbus Day and kills people.
And he's called Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he writes letters like the Zodiac Killer to the paper. Christopher.
Yeah, and
Columbus.
the tagline is "Move over, Christopher Columbus is coming." Christian, this is where you say wrap it up.
And the reason he does it is because he's anti-Columbus Day. He's anti-Columbus Day, so he's making a statement. So he's putting on a cow mask and killing people.
How
and
about it turns out he's lactose intolerant, and that's why he's doing it.
Oh my God. Oh my Lord.
Oh my God, that was hilarious though.
Amazing. Woof. Okay. Is there a movie you rated high solely based on the special effects and gore, not the plot? High just because of the gore.
I'd say Intruder back in the day.
Intruder.
I've come down a little lower on that.
How about like Dead Alive?
There you go. Oh, what's the other one that I love? The Thanksgiving movie. I got my top freaking 20 slashers.
Blood Rage.
Mutilator? Blood Rage.
Blood Rage.
Mutilator. I meant
and Mutilator. But I have those three movies: Mutilator, Blood Rage, and Intruder. All slashers, gore, no question.
Yeah, you know what? Those are actually good choices because those are like when you look at them, they're really, especially Mutilator. Like it's really,
I'm not a big fan of that movie. The
like
kills
it.
are the only good thing about it.
That's
for
the
sure.
thing. The kills are the only good thing, but I don't know. Yet it's charming in some way.
I agree.
No.
You got the kids on fall break.
Fucking
I dig
crazy, you guys. This is fucking nuts. Even through my cold, I can tell you guys are crazy.
You're hallucinating. When you go back and listen, nothing we said is going to be accurate.
Nothing. Okay, this is about Christian. This is a question specifically for Christian. Can Christian be our family's guide in Toronto for the sites and hot spots to visit, or at least tell us some? I'm dead serious. Our family is planning a trip there besides the Rogers Tower, the Rogers Center, CN Tower, and Degrassi Street, while other places are there. What other places are there? We are traveling with a 9-year-old girl. Any zoos, amusement parks? We love the Jays.
Okay, I'll be quite honest. No.
I don't
here
blame
it
you
is.
for saying no, only because he said we're traveling with a 9-year-old
No,
girl.
but I can't.
Not with our 9-year-old girl.
I could definitely not. I could definitely not come out and do anything because I have no time for even my own life. So I can't. But I'll tell you that we have the Toronto Zoo, which is actually I thought a really renowned zoo in North America. Like I know of the Toronto Zoo and I know of the San Diego Zoo, and there might be another big one in the States, eh?
No, the Toronto Zoo is great because they'll throw feces. The monkeys will throw feces at you and then apologize.
Yeah. And then we've got Canada's Wonderland, which is an amusement park just north of Toronto that everybody that seems to love amusement parks come to Toronto for. Lots of thrill rides, crazy roller coasters, one with a crazy, crazy dip that just opened up this year.
Michael Vincent.
All right. Break out the clean linen for the Chesterfield.
Okay, Ari Aster and Jordan Peele, the new faces of modern horror? ? Maybe.
Midsommar. I mean, 3 for 3.
Maybe. Mike Flanagan's pretty solid right now.
I love Flanagan.
I'll tell you that. And there's someone else that's slipping off the top of my head that has had like 3 or 4 good ones in a row, and I'll get back to you on it. But
can't say no though.
Can't say no.
So far, so good. We'll see what happens. Still early, but so far, so good.
So far, so good. Okay, Glenn Wolfe, my homie. Top 3 non-horror guilty pleasure movies. That's hard to do. I could name one maybe. Guilty pleasure. I don't know. Grease and Grease 2. I like them a lot.
Well, these are non-horror, you said, right? Yeah.
Non-horror. The Golden Girls isn't but it's a show that...
I love the Golden Girls.
It's true. I don't believe in guilty pleasure because I have no problem admitting any of the stuff I happen to love.
I want to drink coffee with Blanche on the lanai.
Nice. Picture it. Sicily. 1924. You got anything? Anybody else?
You guys, you mind passing me the paper over there? Yeah, the sports section. So I can fucking bitch slap both of you.
Nice. Oh man, amazing. This one's hard.
I mean, for me, I don't want to say guilty pleasure, but I mean, I'm a huge. I love Adam Sandler. I love him as a person, so like, I just think he's a great guy. So I'll watch anything he makes. So I'm a big Adam Sandler guy. I know people are like, oh, most of his movies suck or whatever, but I don't care. Whatever. Guilty pleasures, if you want to use that term.
That's fair. What are your 3 favorite movies that you went into cold with little to no expectations that ranked the highest for each of you? I don't think I can answer that now.
I'd have to think on that.
Nope, that's something you got to think
Requiem
on.
for a Dream, definitely. I went in not knowing anything about that movie, and it just blew me away.
Yeah, that movie's amazing.
Yep.
I saw that in the theater, too, with my wife at the time. Dating. Year 2000, man. Some great films.
For sure, man. Went into blind or cold with little to no expectations. I don't know. I can't really...
It's hard to see when you go into a movie blind.
Joyride was another one. I went in not really... I probably saw, like, Candy Cane. I love that first Joyride.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I have any.
Indubitably.
I don't think I have any. What was my favorite movie a couple years ago? The Western. The horror Western.
Brimstone?
That one. No.
Bone Tomahawk?
Bone Tomahawk.
Bone Tomahawk is a good choice.
Big surprise. Big surprise for me. So, yeah. Okay. Dave Parker.
Actually, Grimsby sounds like a new horror Western.
Right? It sure does. Grimsby. Absolutely, yes. Dave Parker, homie. What is your dream team podcast? Pick 3 hosts from any show to form the ultimate team and give it a name. Can't do all that. Can't pick yourself and your current people you podcast with. Oh, wow, shit. That's hard to do. Man.
On the spot? Holy
on the
shit,
spot.
man.
I'll tell you. On the spot, I'll say Duncan McLeish, Moods, and Dan Chase. A horror podcast with those 3. I would love it. So there you go. And I picked those 3 because I couldn't pick the people I podcast with.
I picked, I guess I picked Jamie.
Jamie. There you go, for sure.
Jerry and Mike. But Jerry and Mike do shows together, don't they?
Yeah, that's no dream team. We hear freaking 3 times a week.
They're on so many damn shows, too.
Yep. Yeah,
fuck you guys. No, I'm kidding. I love all of you guys. But I don't know. You didn't name the show, though, Dave.
Name the show? Clash of the Titans.
Holy fuck. Everything's Clash of the Titans with you tonight. I think that's been your answer for everything.
It is. It's the best I have. What can I tell? I'm trying to go through it quick and I don't know. B, you got anything? He don't listen to podcasts.
Duncan McLeish, Duncan Hines, and Duncan Donuts.
The fuck? Okay.
And I don't know. Jutopia will be the name of our podcast.
Jutopia.
We're battling the Watsy party.
There you go. Nice. All right, Joshua Pinelli, your favorite horror films of the 2010s? Nope. Can't do that. That's way too much. Great question.
I thought we did it already.
2010s?
Oh, maybe we did it from we did it from the 2000s. So I'd say the Wailing and Hereditary are probably the 2 that stand out for me. I'm sure there's definitely more, but those those would be the 2 right off the top.
Yeah, I mean Brimstone, It Follows off the top of my head, just Suspiria. All I got to do is look at my number 1s for the past couple of years and a couple other. Black Coat's Daughter. I don't, you know what I mean? Just name them off. But we know anyone that's listened to our. At least we'd have to look for the early ones to really come up with it.
Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, Maniac remake.
Boom.
Spring.
Yeah. There you go. Spring. But anyway, that's going to be our episode. Episode 100. Episode 100 will be the best of the 2010s. How's that? I don't know. Just popped into my head right now. Because this is the year we could do it. 2019. It's the last year of the decade. We could have a decade show. Man. Anyway, whatever. Jonathan Wilhelm. Who had the greatest stash in the 80s between you 3? Well, me, of course.
Stash?
I was a child.
Right.
Well, so stash of what? Drugs?
I was a stash. S-T-A-C-H-E. None of us really then, because we were children. Yeah. That's it. Lucas, what is one horror movie you're most tired of discussing? Nothing.
Halloween. Anything
Nothing.
Halloween. It's like give it a break for a while.
No.
No, I saw that question and I have to say nothing.
Nothing.
Cop out or
There's
not,
a lot
nothing. I'll keep
I'm
talking
tired-
about Friday 13th till I'm dead in the balls.
Me too. Dead in the balls. Yep.
Halloween. Give it a rest, Halloween fans.
All right.
Watch something else.
Fuck you,
Fair enough.
fuckball.
What books, if any, have scared you?
Just the whole reading part scares me.
My 10th grade chemistry textbook.
Nice. Good answers. I guess The Shining sometimes. Kind of inspired by Derek B. In honor of him, by the Incubus discussion. What are some of your favorite bands that you would love to see pop up in horror movies? Oh wow, jeez.
Incubus.
Fish.
In the Incubus.
Good answer. A remake of the Incubus, starring Incubus. That'd be awesome.
It's starring Brandon. What's his name? I forgot his name. I know it's.
I'll have
the lead
Ghost.
singer's name
I'll
is
say
Brandon.
Ghost.
Patrick Swayze. Good choice.
Okay,
Fuck.
I'll say Fish because I want to see him and everything, and it'd be weird to see them in horror, so I think it'd be cool. Okay, Keith says, you want to spend the next 20 years isolated with only one film to watch, what would you pick? That's so hard, dude. That's so hard. It really is. I honestly, it sounds like a simple answer, but I would need to think about that.
Same here.
I'm not answering that. I'm sorry, but I can't answer it. Brandon, do you happen to have one?
Hedwig.
Hedwig. Wow, he loves that movie.
Fucking
All right.
love it.
All right. Mike Merriman. Of course I saw this too late. Ha! Joke's on you.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy.
You're not
You
on the
answered
dream
it.
team anymore. You're not in my podcast group.
Mike's a good choice. Mike's funny as hell. Mike cracks me up.
You guys
Yeah,
just
man.
made Mike's night. All right. If you had the chance to see any classic horror movie in the theater from any period, what would it be? That's a
We've
tough-
answered this. I still think,
probably.
I know, I mean, I'd love to go back to see Psycho, so maybe I changed Friday the 13th. But I said Friday the 13th before. I still think I think it would be Friday the 13th
I
over
agree.
Halloween.
I
Over,
agree.
and maybe even
Over
over
Halloween.
Psycho. But the Psycho reaction would have been fantastic too, man.
Yes, it would have.
Yeah.
I'm going back even further. I'm thinking Rosemary's Baby.
Oof.
Well, that's
yes.
actually after Psycho.
No, I meant
Yeah.
from,
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys were going Friday. I meant from that,
True.
yeah, after Psycho, though.
Yep.
The
All
Exorcist
the
would have been
choices.
the other one, man. Holy shit.
Exorcist, Jaws. I mean, all the ones that you see in, like, that poll.
Yep, the one I put up.
Yeah, what was, yeah.
Exorcist, Jaws, Dracula.
Yeah.
What was the other one? Psycho. That was the one I picked
Psycho,
because
yeah.
of the freaking reveal. Amazing. So, like I
Yeah.
said, same as Christian. It'd be Psycho or Friday. Yes, it really would. So, wait, look, we're just at the end. We can do this now. Okay. Andre, we just saw that. Okay, Cameron, if you had to watch one horror movie on infinite loop for 24 hours, what would it be? If I had to do it for one day straight, either Friday 2 or Halloween probably, because they're the lightest. Like, I love The Shining and The Exorcist and others, but they're kind of heavy watches.
I do
So,
a 24-hour marathon of Friday the 13th, the original.
I could do that too.
I go Fright Night.
Nice. Gun to my head.
You know,
In my head, I just say kill me.
you know what I say? Yeah.
Or Friday 2 is it's that too, depending on the day. Halloween or Friday 2, straight up.
You brought up Fright Night, so I gotta bring it up again. That movie, I love that movie so much. But one thing that it stuck with me, that movie is the stupidest thing, but it still sticks to me to this day, and I just did it today. Is the fact that he whistles "Strangers in the Night," and it sticks with me all the time. And I'll just catch myself whistling, and anytime I whistle, it's "Strangers in the Night," and it's from that fucking movie.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. I love it even more now. 10.5.
That's great, man. Wow. I didn't even realize that song was in that movie because I've only seen that movie once. So I have to watch it again.
Wow.
You're the only crazy man who hated the cover art to that film.
I didn't hate the cover art. I didn't like the title.
I thought you said something that you didn't like the box art, the VHS box art.
Well,
package.
it isn't that I didn't like it. It's just that I didn't really care for vampires, and that didn't intrigue me to see that as the cover of the
That
film.
was the coolest cover box back in the day.
It is cool if you look at it from
is
a
fucking cool.
box perspective, and yeah, I get what you're saying. I
As
get
opposed to a non-box perspective.
it. As opposed to realizing what's on the box, and if you're
From
not
a
into
cube
vampires.
perspective or a sphere perspective.
I do respect it though. I mean, I could even put it up in this room, and I got a lot of good posters up in this room at this point. Man, oh man, I'm happy with it. But
Clash
anyway,
of the Titans.
yes, that's my next one.
Get a Conquest poster.
Yes, I just may actually. That'd be phenomenal. Warren Money, CGI blood squibs. Do they upset you? Warren Money, podcast. Have you listened to any? That's my answer to you.
Okay. I'm not a big,
bitching about
huge
him for
fan of
years.
CGI, but
What?
but if
Fuck that.
sometimes if it's edited fine, I'm okay with it. It's when it's so overtly brutal that's where it irritates me. But no, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it depends. I'll go. I mean, Maniac remake, no complaints. Midnight Meat Train, no complaints.
I can't stand the CGI blood squirt at all. God, man.
CGI cum shots, those piss me off.
I wonder if they
No,
have them.
those I hate. I prefer the real thing.
They should start having them. Oh, this could save the porn industry. They can just they can film twice as many porn movies a day if they just have the guy pull out and put CGI freaking shots.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a movie we should make. Maybe see if you can figure out how to do freaking CGI cum squirts. I'll tell
Coming
you what.
soon.
Cum scores coming soon.
I'll do 5 pornos a day. I'll tell you right now. But anyway, if my wife would
I
let me.
can't stop
It
coming.
should be about a group of young men who join the cum squirts instead of the Cub Scouts.
The cum squirts.
This is the leader of the cum squirts.
Oh, that's great. Last question. We made it. We somehow did this. Rob Mahoney, my old homie, Mahoney. Mahoney is my homie. Okay. What are the movies you guys love that don't get enough love? Well, Amityville 2 I talked about last week. I do love that. What doesn't get enough love? I don't know.
Horror movies specifically or anything? Like I say Blowout.
Oh,
I
he
love
says
Blowout.
movies. Oh, I
Brian
haven't
De
even
Palma's
heard of it.
Blowout.
Blowout.
Yeah.
Blowout? What is
Yeah.
that?
John Travolta, Nancy Allen.
Wow.
I've talked about it on the show a few times.
Okay. I guess.
Yeah, I don't think the ninth configuration gets enough love. I
Yeah.
keep talking about it. I think Inner Senses, which is, when we were doing, I mean, I'm still doing the shows with 22 Shots, these top 10s. When we did 2002, was it just, were all three of us there? Or was it just you and me, Dave?
I think it was just, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. But my number one for that year was a movie called Inner Senses, which was, I believe it was from Hong Kong. So it was a Chinese, ghost story. Phenomenal film. And nobody has seen this film. Nobody.
You're right.
Oh, well, I mean, there's other things. Like I even say Videodrome from a high release. I don't think enough people talk about Videodrome. I really don't. I think that deserves a lot more love. And then from a movie that like you were just talking about that no one talks about, I'd say The Voices came out a few years ago with Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a terrific film. And you're right in terms of like the more well-known films, Videodrome. Even like I would put almost Amityville 2 in that category now. That and like Pin, where it's like everyone knows about them, yet we're still not like, I don't know. Like people are like, oh, Pin's a great movie, but it's like nobody's really talking about it. It's just everyone's agreeing that that's a great underrated movie.
You're right. Pin. Well, we'll be talking about it eventually, pretty soon.
Yeah.
Actually, we'll talk about that in a second. And then goodbye. I guess I can just say, don't get enough love. Natural Born Killers, because that's my favorite. History of the World Part 1. Mel Brooks film that kind of is overlooked, and other movies of his are talked about more, and I love it.
God gave us these 10 commandments.
10 Commandments.
That's a
for all
great
to
fucking joke.
obey. Oh man, it's great. Neighbors is my favorite comedy. John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, and nobody talks about Neighbors, but that's fine. I'm kind of glad I kept it to myself, so it's okay. But it's just like, man, I can't believe people don't love this movie the way I do. But that's off the top of my head. So, okay, so that's that. We can say goodbye. I'll what I'll do? I'll just do our shows. What's coming up? Because I just put it up there not too long ago. And the non-horror show, that's today, episode 84. Next show is the Carpenter's Apocalypse Trilogy from the Ram Man. We're going to talk about Nightmares from 83 and Demon Wind. Episode 85, the Ringu Trilogy. We're going to talk about Devil and Starry Eyes. Episode 86, back to Derek B. talking about some Asian stuff. Matango, Cure, and Premonition. And then we're going to do Grave Encounters 1 and 2.
Mandango.
Matango.
Mandingo?
Mandingo?
That's what I was trying to go with.
Amazing. Episode 87, Nightbreed and the Descent from the Ram Man. Videodrome from Markel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll be talking
dude.
about it.
Yes, we will. Pigs and Helmlight. And then episode 88 is another year show. 1988, the year in horror from Derek B. Once again, I just said that a minute ago. Pin.
Pin. Yeah.
Talking about Pin. That is one of the movies we will be talking about for sure that he selected. And I don't have everything else off the top of my head right now, but we got time. So, by the way, Patreon, if anybody wants to give us some recommendations. After show 88, we have 1 RRR for show 89. We have nothing else. So if you want to do it, message us on Facebook, message us on Patreon, respond on one of these threads where the show, if you want if you want your movie reviewed, just let us know. We'll do it. We'll get to it. So some people are quiet, and that's okay. You know what I mean? We don't mind that, but
we like the quiet ones.
We love the quiet ones. Maybe show 88, 89, we'll just have 1 RRR, and we get to pick a movie for the first time all year.
It's going to be called The Quiet Ones.
There is a horror movie called The Quiet Ones.
Yes, there is.
We've said that both at the exact same time.
Brilliant.
I'd like to say great minds think alike, but...
I want to change the name of my podcast to The Cum Squirts.
Nice. How about the Kumquats?
The Kumquats.
Yes, the Kumquats.
I've never had a kumquat.
No, I don't even know what it
Delicious.
is. It's a vegetable, right?
Yeah, I think, is it a fruit or a vegetable? I'm not sure.
What is a kumquat? I don't know.
What is a quince?
What is a quahog?
Now you're doing White Man Can't Jump.
That's what I meant to do when I said what is a kumquat. I meant to do that.
That was quahog and quince.
There you go.
Foods that start with the letter Q.
Sweet
Miss
fucking
Rosie
Christ.
Perez. Nice. We miss you, Rosie. Come back. Do a sequel to The Cell with Jennifer Lopez. I want to see Jennifer Lopez and Rosie Perez in a movie together.
Yeah, I want to hear Rosie Perez's soothing voice in the dream world.
Leave Rosie alone.
I like her. She's a big boxing fan. See her at all the boxing events on TV.
Nice. And as usual, we don't know how to end a show. We're talking about Rosie Perez and
boxing,
whatever.
I was going to say that
Sick.
again. It's Chris.
Cum squirts.
Sick like a fucking idiot.
Yeah, Christian's sick. Let's get the hell out of here. And
thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone who's listening. Thank you, patrons. We love you all. Thank you all, horror fans. So,
Peace out.
Peace out. Christian's gonna feel better on the next show, and so are we, and so are you. So, see ya.
Oh wait, and one more thing. Like the singing bird and the croaking toad, we got a name, and it's Exploding Heads. Thank you, everybody.